Hello and welcome to our Cheltenham preview night, brought to you by Paddy Power, which is also my name, and the Racing Post and RacingTV, and I'm delighted to be joined by Cheltenham's winning most jockey, Ruby Walsh. What are you again? Award-winning broadcaster.
Who are you? What are you doing here?
Award-winning RacingTV broadcaster, the one and only Lydia Hislop.
Oh, that's her, yes.
We have the internet's favourite bookie turned pundit, Johnny Dineen, and of course, Group 1 winning trainer and all-round purveyor of good crack, Tony Mullins. Welcome very much, panel. I was waiting for the round of applause there, didn't quite get it.
You would have, if you did it perfectly, you might have.
Yeah, there you go, thank you.
So how did you let him away with that? What are you?
That was sarcastic applause as well, wasn't it?
No,
you could tell by the tone of
That's okay. Anyway, usually at this point I meant to do all the housekeeping stuff about, I don't know, fire exits and all that. But anyway, so very quickly, I'll just say that if you're watching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel you're watching it on. And also we're going to have loads of free bets and offers and things like that over the next week or so. So check those out if you want. The order of the show, we got 28 races to cover. We're going to go through them in chronological order. 7 races per day. We're not going to go over half an hour any single day, so you won't be here for too long, don't worry. And if you don't have an opinion on the race panelist, that's absolutely fine. We'll just move swiftly on. Responsible gambling message. Before we begin, if you are having a bet next week or any week, of course, please do so responsibly. And right, we get on with the show, I suppose, if everybody's ready. So we'll start off with the traditional curtain raiser. It's a Supreme Novices Hurdle, but this year it is a course called the Michael O'Sullivan Supreme Novices Hurdle. It's a fitting tribute to Michael, who won this race at Marine Nationale 2 years ago, and his first of his double that day. It was a really lovely touch from the Jockey Club and from Sky Bet. Our thoughts are obviously still with Michael's family and friends at this time, and I know it seems very trivial to be talking about betting and racing and Cheltenham and all that kind of stuff, but the show must go on, so we'll talk about the Supreme. So I'm going to start off, Ruby, with you if you don't mind. So Kopek de Board is odds on now in the non-winner money back market for the Supreme. Is it like justifiably odds on, or is it a bit too short? Is fizzy a word? Was the horse a bit fizzy at Leopardstown?
Yeah, he can get on his toes a little bit, but I wouldn't expect that he'd be any more on his toes than, say, a Classical Dream was, or a horse like that. So, yeah, it could be a negative. It'll depend too, Paddy, on how big a field it is, as to what price he is or what price he should be. The last couple of years we've had smallish runner Supremes. I think right now on Monday before the scratchings, it's hard to know how many will be left in, but I think there could be upwards on sort of 16, 17 runners, somewhere around there. That makes it a more competitive race, and that would make the shorter price.
Bad or good for him?
More, it's more competitive, it's harder to win. Imagine the first 2 furlongs of it. If there's 16 of you trying to get positions, it's more competitive early. If there's only 10 of you and you slot in, it's much easier to ride it. So the bigger the field, the harder the first couple of furlongs will be. But look, he's a really good horse. He didn't do things perfectly in Leopardstown. When he won, he got run with Paul too early, but he just has a huge energy. He's definitely the best horse. He needs to jump as well as he can and just get a position in the first couple of furlongs, but he's definitely the best horse.
What makes you say there's going to be that many runners? I'm just interested. I'm not denying that will be the case.
I just think, looking down through it, I think with the changes to the, not the race programme, I suppose, qualification standards in Cheltenham, or qualification criteria, for the want of putting it the correct way, I think there's more horses, novices, forced in here rather than going to handicaps. That was the idea behind what the changes they made, was to get the novices back into the novice races. I think that's a good thing. You wish there was a few more even, but look, there's a bit of depth to it, and I think that's one of the better changes.
I'm sorry, one last question. Do you mind me
cross-examining?
Can I cross-examine the witness? No, sorry. How many do you expect Willie Mullins alone to it is relevant to what I want to say.
I think he will have 5, 6, could even have 7.
Gosh, right, okay.
Wow. There's maiden winners like Capija Pike, Kiss Will, Funicula, a couple more of them, but only after winning a maiden and one other run. Someone will go here, some will go to the Turners the second day, but they all have little experience and they'll all be taking their chance.
Yeah, I'll allow you to take her now.
Thanks very much,
Peter.
thanks, Lydia. So we have to have that contractually obliged conversation, which is completely pointless about the
Completely
ground.
missed that, didn't you?
No, absolutely over his head. Completely went,
Well,
Peter.
That's fine, don't worry. I did get that, but I was going to let you away with it.
It was on purpose.
I know. Okay. Anyway, we're having this contractually obliged conversation, which is completely pointless, about the ground and the going and all that kind of stuff, because we were chatting off air beforehand, and Tony, we were trying to speculate what the ground might be like. Ruby was saying he thinks it's almost certainly going to be soft, because the weather looks amazing, but they're going to water, right? So
yeah, I'd imagine that it's going to be good to soft.
Yeah,
I think that's what they aim for. But interestingly, during the conversation, Ruby was saying, that the Champion Hurl is now the 5th race, which makes it an hour and a half later. So, your ground for the Supreme could be actually softer than for the Champion.
Yeah.
An hour and a half later. It's amazing. Cheltenham is now very well drained. An hour and a half makes a lot of difference on ground with artificial watering as opposed to rain.
Okay. Johnny, what price is too short Kopek? Are we right to just be talking about Kopek, or is there there's other ones in there like Henry's horse, Work Ahead? That looks like it might be a bit of value, a big price.
It looks a deep race, even with him in it. Even if you took him out, it'd be a tough race. I think there's 5 or 6 horses, very respectable horses in behind him. Look, he looked kind of what you'd say a generational horse in Leopardstown. He looked like something that was just like the next coming as such. But he has questions to answer. He's got to behave himself in the parade ring. He's got to go down to post. Okay. And then he's not got to run away with the jockey in the middle of the race too as well. So there are a few little negatives. Like he is a candidate for doing a Michael Flatley, isn't he, in the parade ring? Isn't he, like to do a river dance kind of stuff? You could see him do that, couldn't you?
And I mean, he showed little bits of that in a Christmas with Patrick. Now everyone is trying to infer that he was a completely different horse with Paul the next day and that, but he and
even if he does everything right pre-race, he can do something wrong in the race as well. So, and I can imagine he's the one horse all the cameras will be on. The minute he appears anywhere in the pre-parade ring, everyone will want to see him. The cameras will be on him, and they'll want to be analysing every move he makes on the way to the start. And then even if he gets down to the start in good shape, he still has to not run keen in the race. So for that reason, I think I'd leave as a betting proposition. I think he'd be even money all day long at the same time.
It's very dangerous, isn't it, to get stuck into a short one of the very first race of the week. Well,
there's nothing worse than being on something at evens and here he's pulling like a Mustang going down to the first. You know what I mean? You don't want to be on those in any race. I know he got away with it in Leopardstown, but he may not get away with it in Cheltenham. I'd leave him win, but if he does things right, he will win though.
Yeah, Lydia,
if he gets beat there and next thing you're out on the front lawn, throws around your ankles and only one race gone.
That's your Tuesday sorted.
That's your whole week sorted. Fish and chips on the way out.
Let's try and banish that mental image, shall we?
Considering it's obviously early in the week now, obviously because it's the very first race, I just want to bring up the fact that Gordon Elliott clearly didn't target the Dublin Racing Festival, so I'm presuming his horses are better than they've shown. Henry de Brom had a pretty rough time of it from Christmas onwards, and his horse has shown signs of coming back into form. So we have to tread a bit carefully, right? Because some of the form mightn't stack up exactly.
Well, Gordon, in many ways, omitted the Dublin Racing Festival, didn't he? He didn't send his best horses there, Romeo Kulo being one of them. And Henry de Bromhead, well, we know that he tends to peak again at this festival. Obviously, there's kind of a assumption about that, but as you say, there are signs that it might be going that way. I think Kopek de Board is comfortably superior to the rest of the field. He does have to prove that he can handle the pre-race demeanour, particularly of the Supreme, which is turned up to 11 a little bit more than any other race because it's the very first race of the entire festival. He does have to jump as well as he did last time, but he did really well. I mean, he was almost carried out at one point, and you know, if the horse was the kind of horse to be run away with or do wrong things, that would have been detrimental to his chances. And actually, he just came away from the field and was just hugely impressive. The reason I was asking you about the other Willie Mullins horses was it's really dangerous to sort of go down to Willie Mullins' second string, let alone the third string, which is what I'm about to do. But Carbo seems to me to be a horse that we don't really know how good he is, and I think he's the kind of horse that might be able to hit the frame here.
Carbo, you can say the same for Kiss Will, who was impressive, and maybe he'll go 2.5. But Willie has plenty of horses there with a lot of ability, and you're like, that's jumping straight by Salvatore Mundi, who'll be better than he was in the Moscow Flyer, and is a fair horse as well. But look, I think it's a race that'll be it's always strongly run race. I think Work Ahead loves to go along. I think the quicker to go, the more it'll suit Romeo Coolio. I think he's a real staying 2 miler. So look, I think it'll be a really good race, but I would agree with Lydia. I think Kopek de Board is ahead of the rest and just has to do things right.
Right, moving swiftly on. We won't take as long on the Arkle, I'd imagine. Johnny, looks like we're going to have maybe 5 or 6 runners, and
yes, it's going to be
the
small field. Yeah,
shortest price of the week, Majborough, probably.
7 to 4 on whatever price it is. It's Barafall, I think.
Yeah.
If they had to pick one favourite for the whole 4 days to save my life, this would definitely be it. I would rate him stonk and bet compared to some of the other skinny ones at the meeting.
Probably be a shorter price than Gallopin, won't he?
He'd be about 4 to 7, I presume. Yeah. Look, if he's a small bit like rushes the fences ever so slightly. So he's not. In my opinion, he's not a bomb-proof certainly to go around. But if he does go around, he'd definitely win. I would have thought so anyway.
Yeah, I mean the small field is a help, isn't it, Lydia, with this? Because in the Arkle, it's a sprint over 2 miles, so it's novices. It's one of the greatest races to watch. But like one mistake and you could be bunched. But
absolutely, that's the thing about 2 mile chases. One mistake can cut you completely out. I'm a big fan of Majborough. I do think he can take a small chance at his fences, although actually the data analytics wouldn't necessarily back that up. That's something that people who watch by eye, and I myself, would say. But 4 out, maybe 2 out, you might be holding your breath slightly. But I think he's comfortably the best here, and I think the market has it right as well. I think Lodestood getting a lead. I think we saw when he ran at Cheltenham that he likes that kind of scenario, that kind of setup. And I wouldn't be judging him on his last run where they got racing a hell of a long way out, and he was just rightfully, understandably tired by the end of that.
We're not missing it, Ruby, are we? There's nothing obvious with ground or track or any of that kind of stuff.
No, just reading it Sunday night into Monday morning, looked like Gavin Cromwell was going to send Only by Night, or is leaning towards sending her to the mare, to Mrs. Paddy Power even. No, and I thought the other night when Johnny explained the maths to me of the each way bet in a race like this, that it had to be 11-1 before, 10-1 before you'd even get paid. She was the only one I could see at a double figure price that maybe had each way appeal, anti-post terms, but doesn't look like she's going to run now, so no.
There for Majborough.
Is
to lose, Tony, yeah?
Oh yeah, I mean the only thing to discuss here is you're going to put him into your doubles or trebles, and that he's probably going to be very short, but an act of God it'll take to beat him. There's nothing within a stone of him.
What prices touch me not on your?
16-1.
Yeah.
I mean, just because he's been beaten by both of the principals, I think he's kind of overlooked. I would say that he's probably third best in, really, and yet he's the price he is. So if you were looking for that, yeah, but we don't know. He's definitely going to run there.
No, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Two shorties. Excuse me, 2 shorties. The first 2 races. Johnny, I know you've from watching Up on the Ante, you fancied the Change of Man and the Ultima.
Yeah, I do, and I don't go for handicaps that often, but I'd go for this fella. Just he's a lovely profile. He's a second season novice with 10 runs over fences, which is a lot. Like he campaigned against good horses last year. He's running real tough handicap chase this year, the rehearsal chase in Newbury, or in Newcastle I should say. He's been beaten by Victorino in Ascot. He's touched off another one as well, and he broke his maiden in the Reynolds chase. Like I thought going up £2 for that was lenient. 24 and 64 lengths he won at the same time. I know the race probably fell us under the favourite, fell at the first and all that, but he still beat Peaky Boy by 88 lengths. He's only gone up £2. I think he's fired in here anyway off 140 myself. He's a good jumper. He'd be up in the van. I cannot see him being unplaced. I do think he's a stonking each way at the very least. I think he can win the race as well, to be honest.
Okay. Anybody else have a view on the Ultima?
I don't anyway. No.
I do, yeah. I like Whistle Stop Tour, who I think stepping back up to 3 miles. He is a novice. He comes from the team that brought you Corach Rambler, who won this as a novice and then followed up and obviously won the national. I think we're all familiar with his oof. But Whistle Stop Tour had been dropped back to 2.5 miles, ran behind Jaguar on trials day in a really deep novices handicap chase. The drop back and trip really didn't suit him, but he acquitted himself fairly well, I thought. And, he was not knocked about in a race which he just couldn't make an impression on the principals at all. Step back up in trip, I think he's going to be a force in this race. And I think he's got a couple of big handicaps in him, probably.
Okay, so very like Corach Rambler. Ruby, anything to add?
Nope.
Right, perfect. So we've got Whistle Stop Tour and the Changing Man. 2 tips for the Ultima. Perfect. Right, on to the Mares Hurdle. Well, we know today that Brighter Days Ahead is going to run in the Champion Hurdle. We don't know yet if Lossiemeds is going to run in the Champion Hurdle. So, Ruby, I'm going to pointlessly ask this question because I know you don't know the answer, but is Lossiemeds going to run in the Champion Hurdle?
It's always been the intention, Paddy, and I haven't heard anything to the contrary.
Yeah.
But that said, I have no doubt she'll be left in the Champion Hurdle tomorrow. I think tomorrow's confirmation, isn't it? 7 days before. Could be Wednesday even. Or she'll be left in the Mares Hurdle, sorry. But I didn't hear she wasn't, so I've no reason to believe she won't.
And is Jade de Grugy significantly inferior to Lossiemouth, or do you know? Or?
Say she has achieved less than Lossiemouth. Whether she's significantly inferior, probably not. She hasn't achieved as much as Lossiemouth. There's no way she has. I know she's only beaten once in her life. That was at Cheltenham last year behind Golden Ace. But look, she's a good mare. She was late back in, and she needed the run badly at Punchestown, or would have needed the run badly at Punchestown. And then it's whether Cheltenham comes too soon or not. That's the question mark for Jade de Grugy. Didn't blow me away at Punchestown, and I think she needs to be a lot better than her run the last day. A good bit better.
Tony, I know you're a fan of Jade DeGrugy. What do you
I
think?
am, yeah.
Would you like to see Lossiemouth here in the champion?
A very dangerous thing to say now, but I don't think that Lossiemouth is herself this year.
Right.
Now, she did beat Tiupu at the Hatton's Grace, but then she came on, and they can turn it any way you like. In my opinion, she wasn't staying on. She was wobbling up the straight in the Christmas one against Constitution Hill. Then she fell. No reason for her to fall that day. Crows or pigeons or whatever was flying across the track.
Seagulls.
She had seagulls. You're
yeah.
bringing in the lot.
Yeah.
No reason. She had loads of light, loads of time. I just don't understand her. I've become not a fan from a year ago. I thought she was all things.
Right.
I just don't, but I haven't seen anything. I hope they're seeing it in Close Sutton.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything to suggest that she's certainly not as reliable as Stateman. And
So you'd be regardless. I mean, we shouldn't be just talking about Lossiemouth because probably not going to run the race. But so you'd be confident about Jade DeGrugy then as the.
I love her. Yeah, I think she's unexposed. I'd agree with Ruby there that it wasn't absolutely blowing me away stuff in Punchestown, but I think she's on her way. She's only been beaten once. That's by Golden Ace.
Yeah.
Who now I'm told is back in here. Is she, or are they going for the champion with Golden Ace?
I believe. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to say they're going to go whichever way the other big two mares don't go. So we've got one.
Yeah, well then she's probably going to run here.
Probably.
And I suppose Golden Ace then comes out on top on her Wincanton job. That was a fair performance first time. Like that Bird Road is a serious horse. So I probably have to go for Golden Ace, Jade DeGrugy, between those two. Nothing else within a furlong. I don't know. I'm not a fan of Lossiemouth at the moment, and I keep being told I am wrong. But that's me.
Lydia, just with the risk of just concentrating on the one horse. I mean, July Flower won that Leopardstown race. Is usually a good indicator. It was also third in the champion hurdle, a French champion hurdle behind Hewick. I know Kenny Alexander is three in the race. Has Jade DeGrugy, Carjess, and Gallimar. So some of them are. I know Carjess is entering the county as well. There's other ones there. Queen's Gamble went to Leopardstown with a chance. If you forgive Leopardstown, maybe the ground will be a bit better.
Maybe. I mean, July Flower in that race, the other two mares, Calaconte and the other one whose name, Jatara, got racing quite a long way out, and she kind of picked up the pieces. But she does jump really well, and she's got form to back up that performance in France as well previously. So she's pretty interesting. Is Lantry Lady when potentially doesn't run? Right, okay. This becomes this is one race or another depending on what Lossiemouth does, and so if Lossiemouth comes to this race, it's a expression of a lack of confidence in Jade DeGrugy potentially, and maybe an expression of confidence in Spateman, or is it just feeling like, okay, well there is the mare's hurdle, Lossiemouth can win this, so we go for the race that she can win rather boringly. Hopefully they stick to the plan and go to the champion hurdle, but I think it becomes entirely different depending on where she goes. I'm not completely convinced that Jade DeGrugy is ready now, albeit that I do still regard her. I thought she ran really well. She finished with running left in that steadily run Dawn Run this time last year. But yeah, to me, this is a race that I am going to have to stand back from because it pivots on what kind of race is it going to be. They're totally different depending on what Lossiemouth does, I think.
Yeah, I'd be operating on the premise that Lossiemouth doesn't the notion of running here anyway myself. Right. That's my own guess anyway, you know. I think they're aiming at this race all the year, and the bet is strongly suggesting that she's not going to run here. Look, Jade DeGrugy, I kind of agree with Ruby. I think it has a good chance, but I wouldn't be going any further than that. I had a few quid in July Flower, thinking that the top two wouldn't run earlier in the year. I don't really fancy her at the same time now. You know, I think she's quite short of 4-1. I'd definitely be Warrior Golden Ace. I think that's a great chance. I did one of these with Larkin Williams the other night in Cardiff, and he's thought that she wasn't right earlier on in the year when she wasn't maybe not getting home. And she has won 2.5 mile already in Cheltenham, so she probably will get the trip. And her form last year is solid. And as Tony said, beating Bordeaux Road is as good a form, I'd say, as what's coming in here. I think that's the one maybe they have to beat.
Okay, and it does look like, let's hope Lossiemouth goes to the champion hurdle, because the champion hurdle does look.
It'd be amazing.
Like it is, and we're going to talk about that now. But like, so I start with you, Johnny, actually, because something that struck me about this Champion Hurdle is that, Constitution Hill obviously is the one that could be the best ever type of thing. None of the others could be the best ever, right?
Yeah.
But Constitution Hill has obviously had his issues, as we all know. But like at some stage, like if you're pricing this race, I mean, you don't want to go too big Constitution Hill, right?
No.
But at the same time, you can't go too short, because if you've got 100% to work with or whatever, you have to go too big about it. There's too many dangers there, isn't there? There's 3 other ones that are reigning champion hurdler, Lassie Mouth, regardless of what Tony says. Brighter Days Ahead could do what happened at Leopardstown.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I think the biggest danger to Constitution Hill is himself. If he's as good as he was 2 years ago, then he will win. I think you're betting, if anyone betting on this race, is betting on his well-being rather than anything else.
Yeah.
And look, to me, I have a feeling that he won't be. I have a feeling that he's had wind ups and he's had like colic and he's had maybe other things that we haven't even heard of. So you're kind of, if you're opposing him, you're betting that he's not going to give his running, that the same running that he would have given 2 years ago. Like if you even look at like 2 years ago, he won on the day that, say, Marine Nationale won El Fabio. They looked like wonder horses at the time, but it didn't really progress the way you'd be thinking. And 2 years is a long time, in a racehorse's life, you know what I mean? So
weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a question of whether he's good at the same form as he is 2 years ago. If he is, there's no betting. But I think there'd be big betting here.
Well, Johnny, what did you think of Henderson's nearly outburst, I'd call it, after he walked in Kempton there, was it last week?
Sure, I suppose.
I mean, he just literally, like, if you took what he said, I never heard him saying it before, like, he really said, it's all over, lad. Didn't he?
I don't know, I didn't hear that.
That was the general vibe from the bit of work, and you have to respect that. I mean, they're not putting their head above the parapet, they're sticking it out.
Yeah.
I mean,
go on, Lydia, you're sighing there.
No, I was just sighing. I thought there would be a more satisfying sound to that opening. Yeah. Carry on.
He has
not seeking to undermine you.
He has worked with horses in the 126. You'd be expecting him to kind of put them away in Kempton, wouldn't you, at the same time?
Yeah, but I mean, homework is very different from a trial race and that. I was just actually surprised at Henderson's confidence. Was like, it wasn't that he said we're very ready then. He actually, it's not that he more or less said, he said it's all over.
But the vibe,
he did say it. And by God, I respect for when Henderson fancies one.
Definitely.
Now, if a fool like me came out with that, you'd say, just push it aside.
Let's not forget last year Henderson's horses were running stink. Remember, like he did non-runners all over the shop. So
but, I mean, remember when Sprinter Sacco was coming back from his heart problems, and he was saying exactly how it was about how that horse, and I think everything about Constitution Hill and what's been said and how he's been campaigned since the Christmas hurdle says that this horse is as well as he can be at the moment. I think they could not be more pleased with how things have gone since Kempton. The fact he ran again in the international hurdle for starters, albeit there's that final hurdle that we ought to talk about as well, and then the bullish noises. I was interested,
but I thought he actually said he is better now than he was 2 years ago.
But he can't be. I mean, he just can't be. I mean, he's 8. I was reading somewhere from Simon Rowlands was saying that if you look at sort of analyse the data, there's a expected drop off in ratings from 6 to 7 year olds to 8 year olds of £4 over that time. Obviously he is an exceptional racehorse. He'd need to be exceptional in this regard as well to be improving at the age of 8 compared to how he was.
Tell you one thing, when I hear something from Nicky Henderson, I listen.
I'm not dismissing it.
I was just astounded at his
What price do you now, Mark?
I don't know, I wasn't paying attention.
Constitution Hill.
Hangs on every word. Every word you say.
4 to 6, Paddy.
4 to 6, okay. But there's more to the race. Constitution Hill's well-being and everything is well and good, right? So, it could turn up and blow them away. But there's loads of little things, like what does Paul Townend ride if Lassie Mouth and Stateman go there? Is Brighter Days Ahead going to go off like a scalded cat like he did at Leopardstown? Is that even possible at Cheltenham to do that? Or does that set it up as a sitting duck?
Was it possible in Leopardstown?
Yeah, I know, but that's the thing. So
what she did was absolutely mind-boggling.
So there's more. So maybe it's lazy to just say a Constitution Hill, if he's well, he wins, or whatever, because there's other factors, right? I mean, Brighter Days Ahead, that Leopardstown performance, are we saying Stateman underperformed?
I'm going on Tony's last statement. Like she blew me away in Leopardstown as well. Like, I was watching it thinking, you're going too fast, you're going too fast, you're going too fast.
I was saying it the whole way.
The whole way. And all of a sudden, they were going too fast for the pacemaker, or whatever he's called. He falls in a hole going to the third last, King of Kingsfield. And next minute the mare picks up, heads on to the second last, and away with her off the bend again. And you're thinking, she can't.
she can't do this.
And she did.
She did.
And she kept doing it. And down to the last, she's a bit long and had a grab and ran all the way to the line. Like, take out whatever way you read the race, as in, were the rest of them sharp enough at the start, or why didn't they follow her? Like, when you just watch what she did, like, to me, that was the best performance I saw of a hurdles in Leopardstown in a long, long time. It was the one hurdle performance this year that you went, Jesus.
And can you replicate that with King of Kingsfield and Brighter Days Ahead at Cheltenham in a champion hurdle? Is it as easy to replicate?
And it's a more undulating track, so it's whatever way you look at it. How far do you think King of Kingsfield will bring Brighter Days Ahead? How far do you think she needs to bring Brighter Days Ahead? I think if
you have to remember, like, I mean, that there was a champion hurdle winner just behind them, and he had a loopy reins. Like, I mean, he wasn't Stateman was there behind. You know, it's not as if the rest of them were donkeys as well. I mean, there was a champion hurdler there, and he just couldn't get to them.
I think King of Kingsfield will bring her to the fourth last in the champion hurdle. She'll take it off him as they rise up onto the top of the hill, and it'll be what the crowd want from their home. Nico will be on their tail. I hope the two of Willies are right behind them, and it'll be whoever wins from there. But I think you'll have some running done when you get past her.
So you'll be, if you're riding, you just try and replicate Leopardstown, basically.
To an extent. Obviously, the undulations in Cheltenham, there are places you'll up the ante in place, you'll have to slow a little bit. But I know when I went out to ride Any Power, I was thinking about the way that Dawn Run was ridden. She just went flat out from a word go and galloped them into the ground. And I was hell-bent on doing that in Any Power. Yeah. And I think this mare can do the same thing. I just think she's spectacular.
I can't have Stateman on my mind at all.
Well, you have to. The one thing about Stateman now here, he is the staple diet.
11 Group 1s on a champion hurdle.
I realise that, but we're talking about this year now, aren't we?
No, but he is the staple, most solid one of the whole lot. So, I mean, they have to go 165 plus, which there are a couple there that are well capable of doing it. But he's the one who's definitely going to run, you know. There's not going to be a flaky dove come out of this one.
He doesn't run as well at Cheltenham.
I was about to say that. I was about to ask that. Could you argue that even though he's won there?
Yeah.
I will get a laugh at some point during the course of the show.
You will when we dawns on us who Peter is. I'm trying to sit here thinking who exactly is Peter.
Just going. No, anyway. Sorry, carry on, Teddy. I've rudely interrupted you.
No, you've derailed me now. No, I'm just saying that, you know, from what I thought 3 weeks ago, the Constitution Hill was a slam dunk, that was it, no problem, has now become a fascinating champion or from Brighter Days Ahead. If Lossiemouth is in there, I don't really count it, but a lot of people do. Stateman is still a very solid horse. He's going to be the theatre world of nowadays. If he doesn't win it, he's going to be there shaking them all up. So it's just gone from a boring race into a fantastically exciting race.
I've backed both mares, full disclosure. I did so shortly after Christmas. And I didn't expect both of them to turn up. I thought only maximum one of them would turn up. And I think now, with what has happened to Lossiemouth, that fall last time, I don't like her price currently. So when she was 7-1, great, but now she's kind of like 4-1, isn't she? 7-2, something like that. I'm less interested in that. I don't really see Stateman getting involved. The confidence that we're talking about, we're hearing from Constitution Hill, I think means that he won't drift. I think he'll shorten, and I think I'll probably wait. If you were betting now and you hadn't had a bet in the race, I'd wait until the day and back a drifting Brighter Days Ahead. Is how I play this.
Okay.
But I don't think she'll drift.
I do.
I mean, she has her fans.
So.
Yeah.
I do. I think she's basement now, 9-4 is whatever price she is. I think all the money will be for Constitution. Win, lose or draw.
Yep.
He's all these ones in front of him. I noticed that from when he was booking at the race in
There's
Cheltenham.
nothing else in front of him.
Yeah, exactly.
Only one.
Yeah, exactly. But
he has never been
go for those horses, and he's the shortest priced English horse of the 4 days. I think they'll eat him off the board myself.
Yeah.
What do you make of that final hurdle? Because we're used to him making mistakes almost making mistakes by being too bold.
Standing too far back. Yeah. You look at it, and it's easy to say, right, Nico, if you had a bit more revs up, if you'd walk him up a bit further back, he probably would have come for you. But you watch him early in the Christmas hurdle, fourth hurdle, away from the stands, like he stands as far back, if not further, early in the race. So you can't say, well, why didn't he come? Usually he lets fly.
Yeah, look, Arkle did it 50 or 60 years ago now. Arkle ploughed one out of
it's the last on the second circle. Yeah,
so, I mean, a horse can make a mistake. I've made a mistake once, I think.
No, I don't believe it.
It turned out it wasn't her fault.
It turned out it was right.
But yeah, you thought you had at the time, yeah.
At the time,
No, but do you look at it and think, was he going as well? Was there as much in the tank?
So That's
more so.
Yeah, he quickened well after the mistake.
Quickened well to beat Brentford Hope 3 lengths.
You don't think it's a lack of concentration? You think it was...
I don't know. No one will ever know.
Could it have been a lack of concentration?
Oh, easily could have been. Or it could have been that he didn't have the gas in the tank. It could have been either or.
Yeah, if he didn't have the gas in the tank, though, he'd have done a Goshen on it, wouldn't he? And just wheeled Nico out.
Possibly.
A bit clever, the Goshen, with his feet.
He compared the Goshen now, not the rest.
Yeah. No, I know the mistake I'm talking about. But
right, selection time.
I have to stick with Constitution.
Constitution Hill.
Yeah.
Brighter days ahead on the day.
Ahead.
I'll go Brighter Days Ahead as well, yep.
Brighter days ahead.
3-1.
I know you like the Champion Hurdle, and it's a great race, but we have to throw with the Fred Winter.
See, that's simple. That's simple.
Sublime to
Beyond your
ridiculous.
dreams.
Beyond Your Dreams.
Yeah.
That's the... Which one was that? Joseph O'Brien's, is it?
Yeah, the second,
Yeah.
down further than the other one. Beyond Your
Yeah.
Dreams. I think she's been eye-catching a couple of times this year, and I'll go with her.
Right, okay. I was going to ask you about Willie the
I think the juveniles, I think he's plenty high, 140 odd. I think they underrated the juveniles last year, handicappers in both countries, and I think they've overrated them this year. So that's only my opinion.
This will be interesting, but even with an eye on the Triumph, to see whether the Irish juveniles, the English juveniles, because...
It really will be interesting. And on that angle, I'm thinking about Quantock Hills, who was still going pretty well 2 out behind East India Dock and Stencil when making a mistake, and was then not knocked around from that point onwards. And I think the switch from the new to the old course is going to suit him. I think he's got a lot of pace. He's also got a lot of experience, will allow him to be up there in the Fred Winter. So from a British perspective, I quite like him. I understand Beyond Your Dreams, Put Your Hands Together is the other one that has shown quite a bit without showing the full hand.
Joseph, cheap pieces on Beyond Your Dreams.
Right.
Cheap pieces.
I think she needs them yet.
Okay.
He hasn't had a winner for 3 weeks, Joseph.
I was thinking, is that a worry, the stable form and all that?
I hadn't even looked at that.
He probably hasn't had 5 runners, has he?
I haven't double-checked him.
He hasn't had many jumpers this year, so you're not getting a full look at him.
It's flat hand jumps.
I'm going for the French horse.
Right.
Stencil. I've been a fan from the start, and if he can win the way that East India Dock beat him, won't he go odds on for the Triumph then later in the week?
Yeah.
But I think Stencil's... I wouldn't mind his second run in Compiègne when he got well beat. He came back over here then. Now, East India Dock ran right away from him, but I'd say he's a very good horse. His run in Cheltenham there at Trials Day was good enough for me to win a Fred Winter, I think.
Is this the £14 well in, and so therefore they can't win?
Yeah, well, that's...
that we raised lots.
Yes. Yeah. And now it's interesting. It'd be interesting to hear what Ruby has to say now about the 2.2 kilos. Sorry. Kilo is equal to 2.2 pounds. He has gone back and rated these horses, him and a couple of others that I'll think of in a second.
Call back to me.
At the straight 2 pounds.
Castle and Mott was the same in the Betfair Hurdle last year. And there's been a couple of more horses coming from France into England on the 2. That's the revised way they did it in the UK.
On the 2, this horse, I think he's rated 136. And if you put in the 0.2 and multiply it out, he should be on 149.
He has run in Britain, though. We have seen him.
Yeah, but I thought it was good. It's actually another horse I'm going to bring it in about later. The horse that Willie's, just can't wait. And it's amazing, they seem to be going on the 2 pounds now. So it's quite a lot of weight when you're going up to 65.2s. Usually works out about 13 or 14, is it? Yeah, I think so. Quick.
Yeah.
And in theory, then he's a stone in right.
Okay, Johnny, do you have a view on this?
Yeah, I like Total Look. I fancied very well. It was an Irish 125. It got £7 though, which is maybe what they wouldn't have been expecting. I have a feeling there's a smell of Milantino off a Stencil. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Do you know that kind of run from last year? He kind of smacks me as that kind of a horse. Like Total Look is like, he's 3 runs. He's prepared for this. From what I'm hearing, there's not a lot between him and Hello Neighbour, who has to be very close to being a 150 horse to have any chance of winning the Triumph Hurdle, maybe a late 140s anyway. So I'd say even at 132, he's still well in, and I'd say you'll see a better horse on Tuesday.
I think Stencil's a bit racier than Milantino, just having
maybe
seen them
both
and the breeding as well. I think he's a bit more like it, whereas Milantino would have been, what you were saying, a bit slower.
But Stencil was ultimately well beaten by East India Dock after travelling up behind him going to the second half.
Yeah. But he's by Mesar, an Epsom Derby winner, who's by New Approach. There's plenty of stamina there.
Right.
And maybe, I'm just allowing that he's after he won his maiden in France, then he came back to Compiègne and he got well beat. But I think he just might have run back too quick. Yeah, and his other runs for me are good enough to win a Fred Winter.
Okay, so Stencil, Total Luck, Beyond Your Dreams. I can't remember your one again.
Quantock Hills.
Quantock Hills. Okay, that's it. That's the Fred Winter done. Last race, you're a race off here.
Yeah, I'll take this one out.
You don't want anything to do with this.
No, I don't really fancy anything.
I'm struggling to get my head around it as well with the handicap and all that kind of stuff. It was pretty straightforward the last few years. There's a Gold Cup horse in waiting, 4 or 5 runners, just like, do you know what I mean? It wasn't
yeah.
I think this is an interesting one in terms of the way that the ground goes, and I'm assuming it's sort of drying ground. I really do like Now Is the Hour. He was good enough to win a Grade 2 novice hurdle at Haydock last season for Gavin Cromwell, and he was obviously very eye-catching when finishing 4th at Navan behind 3 Card Blag, where the 2nd, 3rd and 4th were anxious not to finish too close to a 147 rated Chaser. The other one in that race is Captain Cody as well. Both of those I think are much better than they appear. Of the two, I prefer Now Is the Hour because they're very similarly weighted. However, with the ground drying out, I'm not sure that either of them, but particularly Now Is the Hour, necessarily wants that. And so I started looking further down, and I got down to Jericho Rock, who returned from a long absence at Windsor last time, ran perfectly well. It's a track that wouldn't suit him. He was 2nd to Corach Rambler in the Ultima. He was 3rd in the Coral Gold Trophy, or Hennessy in Old Money. He has already proven that he can reach the level of form that the rest of his opposition haven't yet got anywhere near. And I don't think there's anything to suggest that he's lost his ability from that run at Windsor. He's not going to get into the National. He wants the extra distance. He's also in the Kimura. I'd prefer him in here, I think, to stay on. So at 20-1, non-runner, no bet, I think he's very interesting. So Jericho Rock.
There you go, Jericho Rock.
Yeah, Now Is the Hour on Captain Cody. As Lydia said, the race in Navan, they definitely look like the ones that are stepping forward. I think the trip would bring out the best maybe in Resplendent Grey. If he was to run here, he's in the Kimura and a few other races as well. But yeah, again, only a token gesture, Paddy. I hadn't studied it that in depth.
Okay, Tony, any?
Yeah, they're just swapping around so much in what I would be going for Captain Cody, but you just don't know the runners here with all the variances, so it can change. As we get
so like a not strong Captain Cody, a not strong Resplendent Grey, and a sneaky Jericho Rock.
I really quite like that bet.
More than sneaky.
I like that bet. Particularly, I mean, now it's a handicap. It's much more likely they'll go in that direction with him.
Right. Am I meant to get their naps for day one?
Yes, please. That would be great.
Okay. You get your naps for day one.
Seamless.
What a pro.
Oh, well, the boring one, Marsborough. Use him for all your doubles, trebles and that. He's just superior by long way.
Okay.
Oh, let's go big. Jericho Rock.
Jericho Rock. Look at this. She's on a roll now.
I'll go for the Changing Man.
The Changing Man, okay.
I'll have to go for a price too, so I'll go for Beyond Your Dreams. Look, I think the obvious ones early in the card, Kopek, Marsborough, but look, if you're going for something with some bit of a price.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Day one, done and dusted.
If you had it again, you got beat, you just keep the revs up and just hope he does something at the last.
Yeah.
But for me, my instinct at the moment was there's no stride. So if we'd gone down, we'd made a mistake or we'd got in tight, we'd have lost as much momentum.
Yeah, which is literally got beaten and odd. Like, it's typical jockey to find the reason why.
Yeah,
maybe it is. Maybe there is something that happened mid-race that makes a difference at that nod.
You have to. You should look. If you're not looking as to what I could have, should have, would have, it doesn't mean anything to you. So how are you going to get any better? How are you going to do it right? You have to look and think, if I could have.
Welcome back. You just saw that clip there from our rewind show with Patrick Mullins. Be sure to watch back the full thing on YouTube. It's really very good because Patrick Mullins and Ruby were very good. I wasn't that great, but it's a decent show. Okay, on to day two. We're going to go straight into the Turner's Novice Hurdle. Looks a match between Final Demand and the New Lion, but there could be something else lurking there too. Lydia, the New Lion, we're kind of quick to dismiss everything from that side of the Irish Sea, but actually the New Lion looks a bit good.
He does. He certainly looked good in the Challow. The Challow's obviously got that very bad record of translating to festival success, and the race itself doesn't stack up to much, but he did look very good in it. I've been a big fan of Final Demand since he first started hurdling. The way he hurdled, the way he attacks his hurdles and really leans into them at Limerick, and then that transferred to the Nathaniel Ace at the DRF. My only question about him, I mean, it was good to soft at the DRF, but it was 2.6. Ruby, Leopardstown, good soft ground. Cheltenham, if we've got drying ground on day 2, what do you think about the Turners?
Water ground should be similar. Leopardstown DRF, I'm trying to think, he was the first race made to the track. Would have been watered all summer, so probably a bit slower. It was yielding to soft in Limerick at Christmas time as well. Now he's walking the park out of Zuzka. She handled dry enough ground. He should, in theory, handle it. I'd be more worried about it being a tactical affair and an actual
exactly the combination of the two.
And it can often be. Don't ask me why. The Turners can be a stop-start race, shoot out of the middle, and then they pull up down the home straight, and it can get tactical. And if it does get tactical, will he have the turn of foot that the New Lion has? That could be a question mark.
I think that's the key question.
He definitely will want a strong pace.
Yeah, I think, and because he's kind of flirting between the Turners and the Albert Bartlett in terms of what his aptitude is for, you see him as a staying chaser in future.
Yeah, but I'd say there's no chance of running the Albert Bartlett. No. Willie looks at him as the future, and he will be the future, and he will run him at the middle trip. He doesn't see the need to go a long distance with horses, especially when they're younger.
So I just think that if we do have those drying conditions for that race in particular, Final Demand, who I like a lot, might be a little bit vulnerable to the kind of horse that the New Lion is. And the Yellow Clay as well will be interesting about what Gordon decides to do with him, because he's very effective. He handles good soft ground. He handles a range of ground at this kind of trip, but he could also go up in trip, and the Albert Bartlett could well be at his mercy if he was thinking of doing that. So I think the New Lion is an interesting angle on that against Final Demand.
Not a straight match, or is it?
It's close enough to one, I think. Although I favour the New Line, I just think he's a real sexy horse with a turn of foot. And I even listened to someone the other night saying that I didn't even think of this point of view really was like just the form of the race in Newbury hasn't worked out, but it wasn't so easy. How could it work out? It is what he was saying. That how could they be any good? Because if they were, he'd be rated about 190. Do you know what I mean? That kind of way. But so they couldn't be any good. But I've never seen a horse win a Grade 1 so easy as he did. Didn't move on him. You know what I mean? So look, I've a feeling I can. You know, you try to when you're having a betting race, you kind of envisage what's going to happen, and I can see him coming down to the last, pulling a roller, and if he jumps the last hurdle, flies it, he'll be gone.
And who do you think they'll come for? Because Final Demand seems pretty relaxed at Leopardstown. Seems fairly straightforward. You know, it's probably not it's not as deep as race.
I'd say the ground is going to be massive in the betting. I'd say the slower the ground, the better chance Final Demand has, and the nicer the ground, you'd say would play to the New Line strings. Like you can't really go by the Supreme Novice, because an Irish horse should almost certainly win the Supreme Novices. So that's going to be here and there. I'd say. Like to me, the only good novice in England looks to be the New Line. You know what I mean? The rest of them don't look to be any good over any distance. You would have thought, more or less anyway. Like Tripoli Friars at 25 to 1 chance for the first race, and I think that's probably the shortest British horse in the race. So look, I just have a feeling the New Line is a special horse to myself. I don't know. I know his form. You could pick holes in that, and you could pick holes in shallow hurdle and all them stats and all. But I'd be going with him anyway.
Okay, Tony, are you patriotic this time?
No, non-patriotic. I think the New Lion is, you know, he's, as Johnny said, completely superior in Britain anyway. And, you know, Willie's horse is there and he's going to be favourite, but I'd go for the New Lion. I think he has the pedigree, the performance. You know, the horses he beat, as Johnny said, he'd be rated 190 if he was beating real good horses. So, New Lion for me.
Two New Lions. Who did you?
The New Lion on balance, without concern.
No, I want to start Final Demand.
Just to be contrary, or do you actually fancy him?
Probably a bit of both. But no, I do fancy him. I think he's a horse with a huge future, and the only thing I'd be worried about would be a stop-start race, but Paul can be in control of that, and I'm hoping it won't be. It's
probably a stupid question, but Ballyburn absolutely hosed up last year, and this would be a similar type. Would be as
different horse to Ballyburn. Ballyburn was always forward going and would show you a bit more at home. Final Demand's a more relaxed horse, more old-fashioned type of horse, who's better on the track. But I prefer horses that are better on the track than on the gallop.
I think this is a deeper race as well than last year's.
Could
Turners
be.
No doubt it is.
Gallagher.
Yeah, no doubt it is.
See what I did there, Johnny? I brought up Ballyburn because I was just going to come straight on to Ballyburn for the next race, which is the Brown Advisory Chase, and Ballyburn's a favourite. And I'm right in saying you're not a huge fan.
No, not really. And I mean, look, I'm not saying I wouldn't say for a minute he couldn't possibly win or anything like that, but I think he's a few questions to answer. I think it's a pretty smartish race. He's got to get the trip. He runs with his head in his chest for half the race, and like this is invariably this can be a slugger's race. Not necessarily the classy horse will win it. You've seen the likes of like Allaho and Minalindo getting mugged later on by champ. Strange things can happen in this race. So look, I think you'll want a horse that'll see out the trip properly. On hurdle form, he's the clear choice. He still won the Sunny Lines hurdle, I call it, whatever that was last year, by half the track, whereas Dancing City could only finish third in Albert Bartlett. There's no comparison on hurdles form, but there is comparison on chase form as far as I can see, and I know people will fancy him and all that, but I have a feeling he won't win that when the time comes. I think I'll go with, there seems to be good confidence behind, even the form book doesn't really suggest it, but Better Times Ahead is a horse I'd say.
Days Ahead. Is it Days Ahead?
Is it Better Days
Ahead. Effective stud.
Better Days Ahead, yeah. That's the horse that there seems to be positivity coming from these Cheltenham previews. More so than his form suggests. I'd say what he has done, he'll improve on it in Cheltenham. I'd say he could be a good each way bet.
Yeah, funny because Lydia, at Leopardstown, you're looking at Ballyburn, you say, look to stayer. Right, look like the step up and trip was going to be fine, but there's no guarantee, is there?
I think he'll like it. I think he's got an intangible X factor to him. I think he is the class horse in the race. And John is right, sometimes this race can be a slog and sometimes it isn't. It wasn't last year when Fact to File won it, and class can prevail. And again, if we are right in thinking there are drying conditions at the moment, we're a long way off. Obviously things can change. They'll be watering to make sure that it's very safe ground. There's some rain due on the Friday, but it doesn't look like it's going to be, barring freak weather, deep ground, and I think that counts against the likes of Dancing City, who I like. He impresses me as a staying chaser, but will he be suited by this particular task? I'm not so sure. And I think that Better Days Ahead is the one. I think he literally, when he was almost caught by Stella Story last time, Stella Story was considering weight, comes out as the better horse, but I think that kind of underestimates Better Days Ahead. I think he probably is a bit of an idle horse in front. I think he's a stayer as well. He jumps really neatly, and I think he is the threat to Ballyburn. So if there was a betting without, I'd be looking at Better Days Ahead, but I think Ballyburn has the X factor, and I think this is the horse that we're looking at to be a future Gold Cup horse.
And Ruby, in this race, would you be looking at the touch of class, or would you be looking at guaranteed stamina? Because there's other horses like Gorgeous Tom and all that kind of stuff for Henry de Bromhead who love the trip and mightn't be as classy.
I'd be sucked in for the class anyway. Always. And I think going up in trip will suit Ballyburn. I didn't think from his debut or fence in Punchestown that he was a shorter distance chaser. I thought from the way he jumped even in Punchestown, he was high, he was clean, he was through the air. Not through the air, he kind of hangs a little bit in the air. And I always thought the further he went, mile an hour slower, the better he'll jump. I was pleased with him in Leopardstown, and I think he's just the best horse in the race, so I'd be siding with him.
I thought it was impressive that he got the lesser jump at the last at the DRF against Croke Park, and he still managed to come away from
he looked like he was going to get beat, didn't he? And just and ran away.
He pounded him. So, and I don't think that was due to. I know that Gordon Elliott's reaction was that Croke Park's a 2.5 miler. That wasn't my take on it. My take on it was that Ballyburn was just able to do that.
Tony?
Yeah, is Dancing City going for this?
Yeah.
I think he's a very classy horse. Obviously, Ballyburn is favourite, and he's probably the best horse. But if anything goes wrong with him, I think Dancing City is huge. And that's would be my fancy for the race for a bit of value. Ballyburn, he's the best horse in the race, but 3 mile and 1.
It's a long
he's
way.
by Flemingsford and all the things. He should stay, but I just think Dancing City is a hell of a horse that hasn't been mentioned.
Okay.
Dancing City, Ruby, won and good to yielding in Punchestown. How would that compare to over here? Like
Be similar to what he'll get at the festival.
Everyone seems to have him down as a slugger, but he's beaten Better Days Ahead in Punchestown. I know what he beat him.
And he's a Grade 1 winner over
he'd be the one him or Better Days Ahead. I'd be going, but the pair of them maybe against the favourite. Yeah.
The one thing about Dancing City was he improved all the way through last season. He got beaten in a maiden hurdle, and then he got better and better, and he kept went from Cheltenham to Aintree to Punchestown. He took his racing really well, so you'd imagine he will have gotten better through the season over fences too. But I'm Ballyburn.
For me, I think Dancing City, because Dancing City is quite a puzzling horse to try and work out, because as you say, I don't think the ground necessarily per se is the issue with him. I do think it might be a galloping track, because he looked like he needed all of 3 miles to get there in the Sefton at Liverpool. He got outpaced on the home turn, and then he seemed to show a turn of foot at Punchestown. I think ultimately he's the kind of horse that's going to be really suited by the new course, the Gold Cup trip, rather than the Brown Advisory trip. I can see that being the kind of horse that he is in my mind. Anyway, you mentioned Gorgeous Tom, by the way. I can see him running a big race.
Yeah. Okay, so colours to the mass. Ballyburn, not Ballyburn.
No, I'll go with better days ahead each way, maybe. Yeah.
Ballyburn. Dancing City. Okay, perfect. Right. On to what's next? The Coral Cup's next. So, Johnny, you get a little rest again. This French import, you mentioned him earlier for Willie Mullins, the copectomy. I know Ruby and Lydia did a big thing the other day. Is that what you were talking about? This 2.2 kilos,
the 2.2,
and all that kind of stuff.
Effectively,
we don't need to go through all that again.
No.
My head was melted with that. But,
you weren't great at maths.
Yeah, no, it's tragic. But like, so the point is that mathematically, in theory, could be chucked in.
He could be chucked in a stone, right?
Yeah.
Now, we haven't seen him here yet,
yeah.
But, he could be chucked in.
Yeah.
So, I mean, now, who were the last to do it? Was it Gaelic Warrior, and what was the one last year?
Oh, the one, Jesus, remember we talked about at length at the thing.
And the Boca beat.
Yeah, the Boca beat. Remember the French horse, the juvenile or whatever, wasn't it? It was the Fred Winter.
Shipco.
Yeah.
Was it Shipco? Is that right?
No, somebody mentioned earlier. Anyway, it doesn't
Bad,
matter.
no?
Bad was one of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Bad was one of them, yeah.
So
Milantino
was the one they dropped in the weight. Yeah.
Anyway,
so I don't know. He's still my horse.
Yeah. Okay, so you're going to stick with him. Lydia, Dan Skelton, he wins the Coral Cup every year, right?
Wins it again.
With the same horse, but it's a different horse this time.
Different horse this time,
Be
I
Aware
think,
is the one he seems to have laid out for. And there probably is a knack at picking a race, isn't there? And just getting a formula that works for getting a horse right for that race. You know?
It's the only race that he's entered Be Aware in as well, which I found interesting. Yeah, so I think Be Aware's got a strong chance. If you're looking for something at a bigger price, I thought Comfort Zone might quite enjoy this test. He ran really well at Leopardstown over Christmas, finishing third, returning from quite a long break. He's about 20 to 1. I doubt he'll get any shorter, but he'd be quite interesting. But in terms of the horse that I expect to win will be Better Aware. I think that second in the Greatwood obviously is really strong form behind Burdett Road, and I think the step up in Triple Suit.
Yeah, okay, perfect. So, Be Aware, Ruby, do you have a view on this? Or?
No, just Kopek to me, obviously, wherever JP has other horses in the race, and the market suggests that he's shorter in the Martin Pipe, which is later in the week, obviously, so I'm not sure where he goes. I thought the other one of Willie's that had a squeak was Jimmy Desoy, who hasn't run since he chased home Ballyburn he ran at Ancient Punchestown. He hasn't run this season, and he was second in the Ballymore as it was last year, or
be interesting to watch the Yellow Clay are going to beat Super Sunday in the Lauder. So if Yellow Clay figured in the first race, Super Sunday might figure here.
Big negative for Super Sunday is the Novices never won the Coral Cup.
I didn't know that.
Purely because of the rough and tumble of the race type of thing?
Yeah, it is. It's a hard race. I hate it riding in it. It's a rough race.
Yeah. Okay.
Who was the horse that we were talking about that was sort of playing the role of Kopek? Not Kopek. The horse that's the favourite that you were mentioning for every single race.
Yeah, Kopek to me.
Kopek to me. Sorry, it's Kopek to Board. I was having a mind flip there. Who was the horse that was favourite for all of the different races in the same position? Was it Summer Jest this time last year that we were all kind of talking about? There was one horse that was in a similar, it's similar kind of thing, and bombed.
Didn't win any.
No. Got a lot of chat in
sure if it was
things
easy,
like this.
there'd be no such thing as bookies. Okay, so Kopek to me, Be Aware.
A token gesture, Jimmy Desai, not strong.
Okay.
I got a tip for Impose Etoile. I heard that's mad fancy in this race. No, I didn't really look at it, but I know that's mad fancy in this.
That's a certainty then. Impose Etoile. I met a fella in the Jack said Impose Etoile. Perfect. Right. Speaking of races that you didn't enjoy riding in, Ruby, one you never rode in, the cross country.
I did ride in a few times. Didn't have any success in it and gave it up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Look, strong case has been made for Galvin. Bustleton's obviously been set out for this, but look, 157. I think he'll do well to give £10 to his stable companion Vanilla, who I thought was really good at Punchestown when he beat Cocoa Beach. I think he's starting to adapt to cross-country race, and I never saw him jump as well, and I just liked him at a price, Vanilla.
He was in first-time blinkers that day. So is that, does it work the second time as well?
I'm hoping it will.
but there is a chance that was just a one-off, wow, the blinkers worked. And
put him back on, he'll think, I saw these before.
But okay, Vanilla, because funny, the stable companion Stumptown is is the one that also looks, it's the favourite, obviously.
Yeah, he is, and he was very good here in December, wasn't it? And he's a very good horse. Stumptown, still on the improve, and look, I think it's a better race now. It's a limited handicap. 10.5 is the bottom. I think that's just about number 15. Yeah, Goffer at the moment will be a pound out, but look, it'll be an entertaining race anyway. Vanillier just at the weights appealed to me.
Yeah, he was very impressive against Cocoa Beach that time. Johnny, do you have a view on this?
No, I never a fan of the cross country, and even less so now that they've made it a handicap.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave this one.
Grand, okay.
Same thing, you just can't work it out. Only that Gordon does a lot of schooling for it, and that's why maybe Galvin might be a value bet.
Right.
But
so Vanillier sounds like a fancy. Galvin, Token. And I'll go for Stumptown, sure, why not? Because I've won over course of distance. Right, okay, moving swiftly on. Statistically speaking, the worst thing that could possibly happen your horse going to Cheltenham is to be odds-on favourite for the Champion Chase. John Bond this year, banker or blowout, Johnny? What do you reckon? It looks like a week off race.
On all-known form, you'd say he'd win. He looks to have a pretty good high class edge over most of these horses, but the worrying thing is the stat. I don't know. There's no reasoning for it. He's right, yeah. And some like really expensive failures. And there's 2 to 9, 2 to 7, 2 to 5, 8 to 13. You know, really, all these kind of things getting beat. For that reason, I wouldn't actually back him. But like, it's probably a foolish thing to say. But like, I don't know why he wouldn't. Like, there's no reasoning behind this. It's a completely different race, and he should probably win it in all-known form. He looks the one to beat, but I wouldn't back him. But that would be in the back of my mind at the same time. If you were going to face into him at less than even money or even money, that the history of the favourites in this race is poor.
Yeah, I mean, John Bennett, there's no Cheltenham factor that he doesn't run bad at Cheltenham or anything like that, sure, doesn't he? Just like
people make the argument that there is. They feel that he's not as good at Cheltenham than elsewhere, that he might be better right-handed rather than left-handed. I think it's more to do with him being more mature and where he has run as the more mature. This is his best ever season, the best body of work that he has put together. And the majority of top-class 2-mile chases in Britain are, and usually no other distances like that, right-handed. You've got the Clarence House when it's run at Ascot, and you've got the Tingle Creek. And I think that's just coincided with John Bond being at his most mature, at the very, very top of his game. And if you look back at the individual races, and people say you're making too many excuses for him, I don't think he needs an excuse to finish second to Constitution Hill in the Supreme, particularly given that he was ridden pretty aggressively. Yes, okay, he finished second to El Fabiola, but he was on song at that point. The Schlur is at the start of the season, and his first Schlur was actually quite impressive, and isn't too far behind either his Tingle Creek or his Clarence House win most recently. And his other Schlur, loads of things went wrong. He'd been held in a holding pattern. He was meant to be running the Clarence House 7 days earlier. At that point in his career, he wasn't the kind of horse who could necessarily deal with that. He had a new rider. He made a big mistake. There was quite a quick reaction to that big mistake. He still might have won had that not have happened. Loads of things conspired to go wrong. So I personally can't have it. And you know, I get I think it's just the quality of when you've got a championship 2-mile chase, with everything riding on it, as the Queen Mother Champion Chase always is. The likelihood of something going wrong and that being chance ending is much higher, I feel, than any other time. And I think that probably accounts for why it is the graveyard for heavy odds-on favourites. There is no logical reason, in my view, to say I'm going to lay John Bond. Like you, I'm not sure I'd want to back him at that price, but that's just the way I bet. But I wouldn't want to lay him because he's just better than everything else.
Well, let's say if Ile Francais goes, Tony, remember one man won the Champion Chase. If Ile Francais goes here, he'd probably go to the Ryanair, I'm guessing, but
seem to suggest that
if he does happen to go here, that's interesting, right? Gaelic Warrior, I'm kind of thinking you need some blind faith to be back in Gaelic Warrior again, and then surely an Ergamine, probably a bit of yesterday's horse, probably can't win unless the ground is really soft or something like that. I mean, it is I don't know if it's a shallow race, should we say?
I wasn't all along. I was always trying to vindicate myself and saying that John Bond is not as good as they say he is, but he is.
Yeah,
he's superior here. So, I mean, I remember Aidan Coleman when he used to ride him, and then he always said that he was, wasn't as good in Cheltenham. But I think he's over that now. He's a walk in the park, and they do take time. They're finicky. They're very good horses now. He's the best sire around. But they do take maturing, and this lad has matured like a good wine. Unfortunately, it's boring stuff again. He's going to win.
Grand. Ruby, Solness, much like Brighter Days Ahead at Leopardstown, was kind of pound but submission. Can that happen here? Or
no, and Solness has improved out of all recognition. But I think that's just against the standard of 2 mile chaser that happens to be in Ireland. I think the 2 horses of Willie's Gaelic Warrior and Ennigermeen, like unless the Severn somehow reroutes and floods Cheltenham, I can't see it being soft enough for either of them to win a champion chase. And I think John Bond is rock solid. I don't necessarily buy the Cheltenham theory either. I actually would think John Bond's worst performance over fences, he was 16-1 on in Warwick when he beat Calico.
Yeah.
That was actually his worst run over fences. And he went, and the twice he was beaten the Cheltenham, he went to the Supreme off a poor run in Haydock, he beat Richmond Lake, and he went to the Arkle off a poor run in Warwick, and he got beaten both years. I think this year he's gone there off a good performance in the Clarence House, and he beat Ennigermeen. I think his runs this year have been better, from beating Boot Hill in the Schlur, to beating Calixias in the Tingle Creek, to beating Ennigermeen. He's actually building all the way through the season. I think he's rock solid. And I think he'll win. I just think the opposition is not good enough to get near him.
Okay, it's unanimous for John Bond, I think, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, what could possibly go wrong? Okay, we have the Grand Annual next, isn't it? So Liberty Hunter is the favourite here. Johnny, you're on a break here as well. Lydia?
I put up Liberty Hunter for this race last year. I could even see Liberty Hunter potentially running into a place in the Queen Mother Champion Chase if they went that way.
So could I put him up earlier in
the year
on one of these shows or something. Anyway, I think that could really suit him coming from off the back to land onto a race like that.
With Solness, there, I mean, at the time that you were putting up, you had potentially Le Francais also running in that, when you'd have been absolutely guaranteed that there would be an end-to-end pace. But Solness should be able to do it, albeit he does have a habit of going right. So I don't know whether he will be able to execute the kind of tactics that he showed at Leopardstown, where actually going around the outside of the track is an advantage. Not so in the old course. I'm not sure whether he'll be able to do it in the Queen of the Champion Chase. Anyway, if Liberty Hunter ran here, I could see him. Winning it. I'm also interested in potentially Touch Me Not. I think if Gordon Elliott was to reroute that novice to this, I think he's got the kind of jumping which is mature beyond his years, and I think that he'd be able to cope with the hustle bustle, and even off a mark of 151 I think he'd be competitive against more exposed horses in the Grand Annual.
And are we looking for a hold-up horse here, or does it matter?
I think that it can be both ways. I mean, I personally like a horse that is tracking what is usually a very strong pace. So you need to be, you don't want to be right at the back because you won't get into it, but you don't necessarily, unless you're very used to it, want to be mixing at the top. I personally prefer a horse that's handy rather than a horse that is necessarily leading.
Okay, Tony?
Trends are horses coming down to handicap. So you automatically, could it be Editor de Geet, who's come down dramatically?
He's been retired, hasn't he?
I think.
Sorry,
you're just looking at him. We were talking about him the other day.
Third time lucky, though. You.
Third time lucky, yeah. There's another one who's dropping down the weights. Ty ran well in his first start for his new stable. And the one, I don't know where it runs, but I think could be ahead of the handicapper is San Salvador of Joseph's, whichever handicap he pitches up in.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, you stole my thunder, Touch Me Not. I thought it was a bit of a value bet if he came back here on his second in Leopardstown, you know.
You can get 12-1 non-runner no bet about him at the moment, which...
Yeah, I'd say if he goes in this, it's a value bet.
Okay, Touch Me Not, Liberty Hunter stroke, Touch Me Not.
I'll go Touch Me Not.
Touch Me Not, okay, 2 Touch Me Nots.
Third time lucky each way, and San Salvador, if he goes here, he could run the Plague, could run the Jack Richards, I'm not sure.
Perfect. Okay, great. On to the bumper. The lucky last on day 2. And what have we got here? We've got Game of Inches, top of the market. Yeah, Stablemate Copacabana next.
Yeah, and Game of Inches even was impressive at Punchestown on his debut not that long ago. Couldn't have done it any easier, but I like Copacabana. I was impressed with him at Navan.
Is that workman-like, was that what you'd say?
He was idle. He looked even in the ring beforehand like he would improve for the run. And I thought he was learning on the job. I liked the way he went to the line. I loved the fact he went round the bend in Navan and through the wings and the hurdle past the stands. I always think it's a great sign in Navan when horses can do that, in particular Navan. And I just liked him. I really liked him.
Okay, well, just he'll relish the hill type of thing?
I just think he's going the right direction and nothing will faze him.
Okay, Copacabana could be a bit of value. Johnny?
I'd go with Copacabana. I think that he was impressive in Navan. First run, I'd say he's going to improve a lot, and he's the one to beat, I think.
Okay. We need the naps for Wednesday, please. So whoever wants to volunteer to go first.
Copacabana.
We forget this every day, don't
we?
Every day is a
I'll go first. I think Copacabana in the bumper.
Copacabana, yeah.
I'll go with Marine Nationale, actually. I didn't mention that.
Didn't mention it.
No, no. I just said I wouldn't back John, but I think Marine Nationale has a great chance
in the Champion Chase.
I do, yeah, I do.
without or just
What?
to win?
To win.
To win, yeah. I think he's only 6 runs over fences.
Yeah.
Like he did win the Supreme, whereas John Brown beaten 22 lengths in it. You know,
Yeah.
like he's a class horse. And it's said better ground will help his wind. He does run with his head out to the side a bit, but I think he's improving. He's relatively untapped potential over fences still, and I just think if John Bonn is to get beat, I think it'll be him that'll beat him.
Okay, lovely.
I think he is the improver in the race. Oh yes, you want to horse
you're an app,
yes,
please.
sorry.
Yeah.
Be aware.
Be aware, okay, and that's the Coral Cup.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick with Dancing City to maybe upturn Ballyburn.
It seems like a long time ago we were talking about Dancing City.
That's because it was.
Right, that's it for day 2. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
Great result.
Thanks, Peter. Coming up, we have league action live on Friday night, followed by 3 more games live on Saturday, then 2 more massive games live on Sunday. And don't forget, league action live on Monday night. Then it's over to Europe for the big one, live on Tuesday. Then the even bigger one, live on Wednesday. Then it's the other European
Sometimes a break isn't a bad idea. So, if ever you want to take time out from betting, use Paddy Power's Take a Break tool to pause your account. Paddy Power.
Well, welcome back to the second half of the week. New course, same panel. We're starting off. We're starting off with the Mayor's Novices Hurdle on Thursday. So we have 6.5 best flat horse. That the one to beat. Does anyone have a strong opinion in this race? Want to kick us off?
The Mayor's Novice, I thought 6.5 from a long way out was the best mare all in. We looked at all of her form. I know Maureen is towards the top of the betting, but with so few runs, most of the mares in this race have won lifetime starts. Eglinton Desai was having her 4th lifetime start. Maureen will only be having her 3rd, so I think it'd be hard for her. 6.5 is the one, but she's really well found in the market. And the other one I liked as I looked down through it is a mare of Henry's that won in Down Royal and Stevens' day on her term of
Heir of Entitlement.
Heir of Entitlement. You look through her form, she beat Ballybow over 2.5 St Stephen's Day in Down Royal. I thought she was a little overpriced.
Didn't you have one in this race though, in the green colours, the double green that was beating a short head or something? The first time out, like Concertista.
Yeah, but she'd had 5 or 6 runs in France.
Okay.
Racecourse experience. She'd had 4 or 5 runs on the flat before she got beaten. Whereas I just think with Maureen, and as Willie Mullins would say to you, did she win?
Right, exactly. Okay, so sorry, tell me again. So Henry's horse was called
Heir of Entitlement.
Heir of Entitlement.
Yeah.
Is that the one you're going to go with? Because 6.5's too short.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, Grant, Johnny.
Yeah, look, I'd be strongly against the front 2 in the market here. I think if you're a bookie, like you'd lend them at 5.
Just because they're inexperienced and all that, or?
Yeah, look, I think that this is an open race. I think there's plenty of horses here with chances. The likes of Caroline Bamboo has a chance. Nichols has 2 in it. Diva Loon has there's a whole host of horses. The Brommet has 2. Therese and the one that Ruby mentioned there. Like I think at around 5-4, that is the worst 5-4 chance of the whole festival. I think the 2 of them combined. I don't know if it'd be Maureen at all anyway, to be honest. And like, okay, the other one has a lot of running done in the flat, but still she's only 1 run over hurdles. I do think she's entitled to win what she did in Fairy House, but this is a big step up here. And she was like 2.25 miles in the flat too. She'll want every yard of this trip as well, you know. So I thought both of them were vulnerable, particularly Maureen, but I think I'd lay the 2 of them.
Okay, Grant, Tony?
I'm a bit of the same opinion. I don't see them superior. And the prices reflect that. If you have an opinion, go with it. But I think this race could throw up one.
Okay, Lydia?
I think it's wide open as well. I agree with the Heir of Entitlement view. The 2 from Paul Nicholls, he's got a strong couple of mares. It'll be interesting if Joseph O'Brien were to think about rerouting the 4-year-old Galileo Dame from the Triumph to this, because she'd get all of the weight. She's got experience from the flat. She'd get a lead, which I think is important to her, and I think she'd see it out well as well. She was rated 96 on the flat. She was deemed good enough to run in Group 1 level. I think she's quite smart. So if he was to reroute, because the Triumph is looking pretty deep, to go for this more open with the weight advantage, and I do think it's an advantage, the weight for age there, that would interest me a lot.
Okay, so you're going for that
Galileo
one.
Dame.
Galileo Dame. You're going for just not the favourites. Pick something each way the price. You're the same.
I'll go with Caroline Bamboo if I was forced.
Caroline Bamboo and I've forgotten his name already, the Henry de Bromhead horse.
Heir of
Entitlement. Grant, Heir of Entitlement, fine.
Which you have.
What?
Which you have.
Thanks very much. Well, I don't have hair, but anyway, that's fine. Okay, the next race is the Jack Richards Novices Limited Handicap Chase. Rolls off the tongue. So this is the one that I'm interested here is Jaguar's top of the mark, because that race on trials day always tends to be a good trial for the festival, doesn't it? Like it throws up something in various different races. But I mean, is that up to £7 for that? Was that lenient, do you think? Or
I think he certainly won comfortably. Certainly the runner-up, his stable companion, has been turned over though since then. On the whole, though, I'm entitled to hold with my pre-race view that was a really strong race and that he won it comfortably. So I think he's a key player in this. I'd also be interested in Jordan's. But again, I mean, I've mentioned a couple of Joseph O'Brien's now, and I do just want to keep an eye on the stable form, because this time last year I was thinking, Nicky Henderson, I'm sure it'll be fine. He'll bring it back by the time of the festival. Obviously, it's a different kind of operation. You know, you've got more runners from Nicky Henderson to assess it as compared to Joseph O'Brien, just because of the comparative size of their jump string. But nonetheless, that'll be in the back of my mind. But yeah, so Jaguar probably, but I'd also keep an eye on Jordan's.
Okay, and Ruby Patrick mentioned last week Asian Master a little bit. Would that be one?
Yeah, it would definitely be one. The only slight concern you'd have is Croke Park to run, or either the top weights at 11-12. The weights will stay where they are, 11 stone 2. Asian Master's always been ridden by Tom Costello. I think he'd struggle to claim 7 off 11-2. Around about 11 stone is probably as light as Thomas would get to. So
he'll run anyway, or he'll ride regardless, will he?
He is a family horse, so I think there is for him to ride. So, like, if he can't do the weight, will he go? I wouldn't be so sure.
He rode him very well in the Supreme last year.
And he's always ridden him. So whether, like, he probably would be hoping, but the only person that would be hoping he'd have a few pound more in a handicap is probably Tom Costello. But yeah, I'd say he would love to have had 11-7.
Yeah, okay. But if the top weights don't go,
that would definitely suit him better. Yeah. But listening to Gordon, you kind of got the feeling he felt 2.5 was Croke Park trip. I think the other one of John Joe's is in the Arkle as well, isn't he? Springwell Bay.
Yeah.
He might defect, but I think Croke Park might stand his ground.
Yeah, I'd go Arkle with Springwell Bay if I was John Joe Neal.
Okay.
That's the interesting part for me. Where is that going to run, Springwell Bay? Does anyone have any idea?
All the vibes, because they've been at AJ and John Joe Neal have been at a few festival preview nights, seem to be that they genuinely aren't sure. They're sort of asking everybody the question, and the answer that they're getting back from most people is the Arkle. Going to the Arkle.
I'd probably be more of a 3-mile horse than a 2-mile horse. Did you know?
I thought he seemed to really enjoy the pace of a strongly run, 2.5 mile handicap on New Year's Day. I thought that really did suit him.
Yeah, either him or Jaguar probably has a chance. Asian Master's a chance, but it is a tough race too. At the same time, it is. I think I'd go with Asian Master if you ran off 11-2 and they didn't have a claim around, and maybe put up Paul Tonin, he'd have a good chance for sure.
Yeah. But that's
probably unlikely, isn't it? Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But if he did, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking the same. I hadn't calculated that young Costello wouldn't be able to claim the 7. So that sort of scuppers my one, because he probably won't run if he can't do the weight. It's his mother's horse and they're going to.
Grand,
so that leaves me sort of blank and going back to the favourite, Jaguar.
Okay, so kind of Jaguar, Asian Master-ish.
I'd chance Springwell Bay anyway.
Springwell Bay if he's in here. And
Asian Master to me
looks it sounds like Asian Master if he runs is well thought of at home, right?
Yeah.
By the trip, certainly. That'll help.
So he had the 2 starts. He had 1 run in the Hunter Chase. That's where he qualifies.
Yeah. Grand, okay, perfect. Okay, moving on to the Pertemps. So what have we got here? So Jericho de Rapinay looked eye-catching in his qualifier at Exeter. First time stepping up a trip. He should get the trip, I guess. It could be well handicapped based on last year's form.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know whether I like him much. I think not entirely trustworthy. I don't think when I see it, I'll believe it. I like Lucky Lyrene in this.
Okay.
I think this trip will suit. Thought he ran very well at the DRF, and I think he can step forward again.
Okay, there's a knack to this race, Tony, isn't there? There's kind of, the route to the race is important.
There's a knack. Get him well handicapped anyway. I mean, if you can get in off the right weight, and so I'm just hoping I'm going for an outsider here. Tom Cooper's horse, the Art.
Okay.
There's a lot of horses here up the top. The Wall Park has run a lot. He's pretty exposed. He's still favourite. Jericho de Rapinay, I agree with you, that there might be a bit of a hole in him. Will the wise and win some, lose some? It's a very, very open race, and I'm just going for the Art.
Okay.
As a horse that might, he has some good runs.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Sorry.
No, I know, it's my fault. The Wall Park is interesting because they're talking about going for the stayers and he keeps shortening for this race instead. I do think he'll get the end-to-end gallop that he needs in this race, and he probably won't get it in the stayers. So I think this is probably the right race for him. I could see him running really well.
Okay, so the Wall Park, even though he's exposed. Johnny, do you have
No, I was kind of half going with Tony's one. Dart. In a devilishly difficult race, that always is. I mean, you couldn't pick the winner this coming to the last normally, could you? Really? So I wouldn't be one to do very small stakes in here for sure.
Yeah, Sire de Burley coming from about.
Yeah, I even stood with a fellow, he backed Tony Martin won it. Was it Good Time Johnny or something?
Good Time Johnny,
He said, geez, look at Good Time Johnny trying to run, you know what I mean? And next thing, I said to him, you have a small chance here, you know, next thing won by 5 legs.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable stuff all you know. So I don't know what kind of a race this, to be honest.
Yeah. Any view, Ruby?
Each way, Carl de Tourelle, an improving 5-year-old. Last year's juveniles look ahead of the posse, and I just thought he's young enough for it now, but I think Delta Work might have won it as a 5-year-old, but Carl de Tourelle maybe.
So Carl de Tourelle, the art, or same with you, Lucky Lyrene. Grant, what could possibly go wrong? Grant, okay, next we have the Ryanair, which could turn out to be an unbelievable race, right?
Could do, yeah.
Goes. Yeah. So it's we got Factor File as a pretty hot favourite. We were talking about that off air earlier on. But most likely run here, right?
I think he'll run here, providing Gallup and the Champ gets to the Gold Cup 100%. But that goes for a couple of horses maybe that are hanging on the edge of the Gold Cup, and I think after being comprehensively beaten by Gallup and the Champ twice at Leopardstown now, I think Factor File will most likely come here. I think dropping down a trip won't inconvenience him. His best form is arguably his Durkin form, over 2.5, so maybe it's the right trip for him. And he's a rock solid horse. One I would give a mention to at a price though is one that Willie used to train. That's the horse that Henry has, Jungle Boogie. I thought he was good at Ascot. I thought he ran a cracking race in last year's Gold Cup. He was too keen. He was running away going to the third last. I think at a big price, I think he is a squeak.
Okay, Jungle Boogie. Johnny?
Yeah, I'd like the favourite here, and Ile Francais is going to probably go hard here, but I don't see him giving him too much rope, to be honest. I think they'll stick within 2, 3, 4, 5 lengths of him, and they won't even give the lead that he got in Kempton in here, that's for sure. And I think if he gets near him, he'd wear him down, and I could see him unfolding. I do fancy Factor File, to be honest.
Okay, and say Factor File, say versus Protectorate, who won it last year, similar horse, right? Not quite.
I think
Gold
he's
Cup.
probably better than Protectorate. My sense about Factor File is we'll see.
Yeah.
I think that Ile Francais being there will help Factor File. He won't have to be taken back the whole time to try and conserve his energy. He'll be allowed to just sort of flow properly. And I think that Ile Francais being there and the trip will suit him a lot better. It'll be interesting to see whether Ile Francais can pull off on an undulating track the kind of tactics that he showed when he won the Corto Star, when he went an end-to-end gallop. He won't let up at all if he's in that kind of mood, but obviously he has had bleeding issues. There are some, question marks that come with him, but he did run really well when second in the King George, albeit it was a different kind of race to the Corto Star. He slowed it down, put the brakes on halfway around, and then quickened up again. At the Ryanair, I think he'd need to go end to end, and it'll be fantastic. I mean, if he was to run, up to the level of say his Corto Star, that would be a fantastic race to watch. This isn't the kind of, like last year when I was making the case for Protectorate, it was a typical Ryanair whereby you're not quick enough for the Champion Chase and you don't stay in the Gold Cup, so therefore you're going for the Ryanair. This time around it doesn't feel that way. It feels a different kind of race, and I think you're going to have to be very good to win this. And I think Protectorate will run well. He bounced back at Windsor, but this is deeper, I think, than much deeper than last year, in fact.
I think if you're riding in a Protectorate's the perfect horse, because he's going to be the one that bridges the gap.
Yes.
He has the pace to follow Ile Francais, and he'll drag the rest of them. He's like, if I was riding, I'd be thinking, yeah, thank God he's there, because he's going to bridge that gap.
Where would you be with Factor File in that scenario?
Probably third, fourth, but at least you have one Tony to him, and Protectorate has the gears. If you didn't have the gears of Ile Francais, at least you'll have Protectorate to bridge that gap between the two of you.
What about Envoy Allen? One a couple of years ago.
I don't think he's quite at the same level. I mean, he was beaten by Protectorate last year.
I fancied him last year. I put him up last year, but he's another year older now, so no.
He's not getting
He won the Jack Nicholson, did he, in Down Royal there, the first run of the season. But he's probably...
You're a Factor File fan?
I was always a Factor File fan, and
He was the next coming this time last year.
Yeah, and he hasn't come up to it.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's reasons. He ran 2 free in the Durkin and gave an unbelievable display to win it. Then he was way too free in the, whatever you call the Good Chase at Christmas. Then, I'm not blaming Mark Walsh, but in Leopardstown, I mean, he was everywhere during the race. Like, he went into the tea room and everything, so he did. Like, he was up in front, he was back behind. Now, I know he was trying to settle him, but I mean, a horse just cannot take on the likes of Galopin Des Champs, being in all these different positions in the race. And I still believe he's running the wrong race. I think he should run the Gold Cup, and I think he might. He's the only horse that would put anything up to Galopin Des Champs. Here, not so sure. It's going to be Ilite France is going to rubber, and this is going to be, it could be the All Warriors, Envoy Allen for an outsider, and Protectorat, who know their way around. I just think Factor 5 should be in the Gold Cup.
You sound frustrated.
I am frustrated, yeah, because people said, oh, Grange Clare, West Cottam in Leopardstown. You would have to run 8 races over the last mile and a half. I mean, the horse just getting, I'm not blaming Mark Walsh or the tactics they use to try and settle him. Maybe it has taught him. When he becomes a man, he's going to take over.
So is that what they're thinking then? To go faster in the Ryanair, that he might settle better?
I think he should be in the Gold Cup, full stop. That's it. Yeah. But, I mean, I know the way they think, and they're going to run him in the Ryanair, and he might get caught between 2 stools.
Okay.
That's what I think.
You're not sure, but you're saying maybe trust a bit of the old guard, been there, done that.
Yeah. I'm in a race that I can't really work out. I think Protectorat is probably the safest bet, and I'd be hoping now Envoy Allen had come up and, you know, just an All Warrior.
Okay. Nostalgia for Tony.
Well, it's not nostalgia. I just think the favourite shouldn't be running. I think he should be in the Gold Cup.
Tell us what you think,
Do you, yeah?
Lydia, you're going for...
I think I'm going to go for Ile Francais, but it's more sort of a heart-based thing. I'd really like him to strut that kind of stuff at Cheltenham, and I think it'd be great for a French winner as well. So yeah, there's a bit of heartish.
We're already going to have one in the...
Oh yeah, sorry, I forgot. Apologies. Stenstill's already won the race. A second French winner of the week.
Then win the Presbytery Cup for the first time. So Ile Francais.
I'll go Factor 5.
I think Factor 5 will win, but Jungle Boogie's a great place.
Jungle Boogie for the each way, yeah, of course, yeah. Grand, okay, perfect. That's the Ryanair done and dusted. The Paddy Power Stayers Hurdle is next. Wonderfully sponsored race, of course. Tihupu, has come up a couple of times in conversation already today. Very impressive winner last year. Kind of hard enough to pick holes in the form. I guess if you were looking for something to worry you, it might just be if the ground comes up quicker or something.
Yeah, that definitely could be a worry, yeah, for sure. I'd say the softer, well, not bottomless ground, but I'd say slower ground will help him rather than maybe good to soft.
Yeah.
Like he sets a standard, but it's certainly not an insurmountable one. So saying that, second favourite's Home by the Lee, who's 10 years of age, and he's been running against him with the last 2 or 3 years. And
he wants good ground, doesn't he?
He probably does, and he doesn't have a great Cheltenham record either, Home by the Lee, even though he nearly fed it the last with a second to go when he was going really well that year. So I wouldn't read too much into that, but I think he has a chance, Home by the Lee, and look, he plays, might have a chance. Look, the favourite for me is vulnerable favourite. No, I definitely wouldn't be one I'd be backing anyway. As regards what you picked to back him, like I suppose it is kind of hard to have huge faith in Home by the Lee. He's 10 years of age, and you'd say he can't be improving at the same time. Although I do still think that Tihupu may just get beat here.
Yeah.
I'm not as regards what I'd back.
So you yourself, you think you might be laying it?
I think so, yeah. I think so.
Especially if it goes very
taking
short.
A chance, yeah. I'd see him being and going to these kind of previews, seems to be a lot of negativity towards Tihupu, but no one seems to fancy him.
But there's no reason for that except for just feels like they might, you know.
Yeah, maybe so, not yet.
These stayers often, sorry, I'm not trying to change your mind, but these stayers often, it's because the nature of the race, it just needs to be rode along and they never hack up.
Well, that's true too, I suppose, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I have a feeling that he might find one to beat him, maybe, that's all.
Okay, Ruby?
I can't find the one to beat him. And I don't think the Racing Fairyhouse was a no race this year, so as such he definitely hasn't had a taxing season even, but I just can't find the horse to beat him, so I think therefore he'll win.
Yeah, by the process of elimination. All eliminated except him.
I'm delighted to hear that there's a lot of negativity against him on the circuit, because I started off in the position of thinking, is this a vulnerable favourite? And then I went down through the race and thought, I can't find the horse that's going to beat him. And there are excuses for what happened in the Hatton's Grace. One, it's the quickest ground he's ever encountered. That was good ground on times, not even good to soft. It was good, and the race wasn't set up to suit him at all. And I'm prepared to forgive that. I think he's fine on good to soft. I think he's certainly fine on against this level of horses, most of whom he's already beaten before. Home by the Lee has posted marginally better form than him this season, but that's with everything going right and Home by the Lee, being in the form probably of his career at the moment, whereas I think Chupu was not far behind that level of form with everything against him. So I think Chupu is comfortably the best horse in this race. The Improver is potentially Lucky Place. I think he could improve stepping up to 3 miles, but I'm hoping from the sound of things that this horse might drift, and in which case I'll back him.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the very same opinion as the lads that he's superior here. I can't find anything to beat him, but he's just one that I haven't jumped onto as a, he wouldn't be in my trebles and accumulators, as one of the good ones, the good things.
Okay.
But I can't see anything to beat him.
Okay, so Tupu, and not Tupu.
No, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, onto the plate next. You were sweet on Crebley last year. Would you give him a chance this year?
Yeah, I would.
He looks well handicapped.
I would give him a chance. He's down 2 pounds from last year, and he ran okay. He ran well in it last year, but he didn't run great in Aintree, and he hasn't run. I know he's probably targeting here again, but you'd say there wasn't much promise in some of his runs at the same time. But look, okay, he'd be aimed at here, and he has a chance, but he's not one I'd be having a lot of money on at the same time. He didn't have much excuses in it last year, did he really? To be fair, he had every chance, and he got beaten by a horse of Harry. It was a shake him up Harry. Look, he has a chance, and he's probably been geared for this. But I wouldn't have a lot of money in him at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. Ruby, jump out.
It's shaped up to a race for some reason that you need to be on the pace. The last couple of winners have all been on the pace, which I wouldn't necessarily associate with a 2.5 mile chase on the new track in Cheltenham, but that's where the last 3 winners have come from. And I think one that's coming down in the weight, if I got any encouragement from Paul Nicholls, would be Genie's Destiny.
Okay, Genie's Destiny, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Genie's Destiny, the encouragement is what you need, because he hasn't shown anything so far this season. But if you look at last season, he was an absolute Cheltenham specialist. He loves the track, and I suspect he might even have given Grey Dawning more to think about in the turn as the Grade 1 had the ground been a bit slicker than it was. So if you've got any kind of positivity about this horse coming back, then absolutely I could see that. And the other one that I'm interested in, but I don't think he's going to run, sadly, is Masaccio. He's got 3 entries over the 4 days. I think they seem to be tending towards the Ultima, but I don't think he necessarily stays 3 miles. The Jack Richards, I think, is going to be deeper and harder to win than this, and he's got the right run style, I think, for although he doesn't lead, he's right on the pace, he's handy. I think that would be the right race for him to run in the plate. But I can see Genie's Destiny. Any positivity from Paul Nicholls?
Okay, interesting. Tony?
Just Jaguar. Will he run here? He will.
He's in the novice handicap.
The other one as well, yeah.
Yeah, well then I suppose you Springwell Bay, they're not going to meet each other, are they? Well, they would, yeah, sure, why wouldn't they? Yeah, so Springwell Bay then.
Okay, if he runs here. Okay, so what should we say? Crebley small.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Genie's Destiny.
Providing Paul Nicholls is optimistic.
Genie's Destiny providing.
Yeah.
And then Springwell Bay if he runs right. Perfect, that's the plate. The Kim Muir, another one where I find it pretty hard to get my head around what's even going to run in this race. So
it looks like most of the horses will get in all the way down as far as you go. What goes to the Ultima, etc., and the new National Hunt Chase now will make getting into the Kim Muir a bit easier. I thought Walking on Air was running a cracking race in Doncaster when he fell at the last. He'd be the one for me, up £4 for that, but I thought he was going to win at Doncaster.
Would you be waiting for jockey bookings on some of these, or just?
Of course you would. Any jockey booking would be a positive in every race. But looking at it now, it's just I think he's a chance anyway.
Has a horse rated 121 a chance of getting into one of these races?
Yes. Which one is it?
A work in progress.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Has he a chance of getting into any of these races?
He has in this scenario. Yeah, I think he has.
He's deadly dangerous in the race, I'd say. Yeah. I'd say he's in the race.
He definitely has a squeaky getting in, yeah.
Has he, yeah? I was writing him off because he's number 50 or something on the list. And
61.
61, yeah.
Yeah, I was saying he won't get in. So, but if whatever race he runs in, if he doesn't get into a race, Cheltenham, he has an eternity in hand.
Who trains that?
Josh Gifford or Nick Gifford for JP, yeah.
Okay.
He's been winning races there around the gaffs by half lengths. I'd say he could have won them by 4 long if he wanted to, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
A work in progress.
He's been sneaking up.
Very appropriately
90,
named.
90, 96, 101, 109, 114, up to 121 now. He is a work in progress.
He's been winning though, whilst doing
Oh, he has.
it.
He's been winning in the walk as well.
Yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
A work in progress. I mean, I agree. I like a work in progress. I've got a short list of 3. A work in progress was at the top of it if he got in. I'm also quite interested in Pick Rock. I think he could run well. And Gitmaker, who finished second to, I Know the Way You're Thinking, who was obviously thrown in and proved to be a graded level horse last year. I think he does his best at Cheltenham, and I think he could run well. But if a work in progress gets in, like Johnny, I'd be very interested.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, Gavin Cromwell is flying at the moment, so now is the hour. Just has some good form. It'll be interesting, like say Captain Cody and those running early in the week will give you an indication. But Gavin Cromwell has now come in to the fray, and he's very good.
He's
in
at the
these
top
handicap.
table, really, isn't he?
He's
Like,
at the top table now, and
yeah.
so I just chance him.
So now is the hour. What do we call it again?
A work in progress.
A work in progress.
I'll chance the work in progress, yeah.
And
walking on air.
And walking on air. Okay, perfect. That is day 3. No, it's not ready. No, we have to get our naps first. Our naps for day 3. So, Jesus, yeah. Imagine that. If only I told you in advance.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Right, who wants to go first? Come on. This is like Tony when the waiter comes around and Tony's like, start at the other end.
It really is like that.
Is right.
I think it's the hardest day. Most handicaps. I think Jungle Boogie each way in the Ryanair.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
Okay, I'm going Galileo Dame in the Dawn Run, non-runner no bet.
Okay, Galileo Dame in the first.
I'll chance the work in progress if he does get in. I didn't expect him to get in, but if he does, he's a great chance.
Great.
I'm just completely at sea here.
Yeah, he'll have the chicken.
I'll have the chicken. Sauce on the side.
Tihupu if you want, or you could have...
Fact to file, you're going to go against him?
Yeah, no, well, you see, fact to file, like, I mean, he's,
He'll be running on Friday.
He should be running on Friday, you see. I was going to talk about him in 10 minutes.
Can't get over it, look.
Just can't get over that. I'll go for Protectorate. Hope that they see sense with fact to file.
Grand. Okay, perfect. Okay, it's our final break coming up. We'll be back just after this. So, yeah, see you in a minute.
Paddy Power's Cheltenham Fan Zone is back on Friday, March the 14th at the Camden in Dublin. Tickets are on sale now at universe.com.
You're very welcome back onto Friday, day 4 of the festival. They say time flies when you're having fun. That's what they say anyway. The Triumph Hurdle is first, and Lydia, we said when we were talking about the Fred Winter, we were saying how it'll be interesting to see how the English versus Irish juvenile form stacks up, because this is a top-heavy race with Lulamba, East India Dock for the British trained ranks against Hello Neighbour for Gavin Cromwell in Ireland. So is it that kind of race where you think, or?
Well, I just think East India Dock has by far the best form in the race and should be clear favourite and will win. I think it's very, very straightforward. He's got the level of horse already good enough to win a Triumph. I think I heard somebody from Timeform saying that over the past decade, the only horse that has been rated as high as him has been Goshen, who would have absolutely thumped the Triumph field when the unfortunate thing happened at the last. And I just think he's straightforward. I mean, he stays, he travels, he jumps, he's got everything. And I accept that Hello Neighbour is very promising and with a strongly run race might settle better and do well. Lulamba is clearly promising. But in terms of the form that is there right in front of you and a horse that should be shorter, it's East India Dock.
That's the problem at racing, isn't it? That we just always look for the bumper's the one you look forward to, even though the potential or the tips or whatever. So Lulamba's potential, Palladium's potential, but East India Dock, as you said, has already done it.
Well, East India Dock has done it 3 times, and whereas Lulamba's only done it the once. To me, Stencil will give you a bit of a guide, is right, as to the form or the work to the form of East India Dock. I just have a feeling it might be beating up Fred Winter horses, and these are different level. To me, if Lulamba gets and in the position that Stencil gets, I personally don't think that East India Dock will shake off Lulamba as easy as he shook off Stencil. I don't know. I thought Lulamba left a deep impression in Ascot. Gave £10 to Mondo Man. I don't know. That's the one I'd be going with anyway. Like it has only the one run, and you're kind of half guessing as you are in most races, to be fair. But I think Lulamba had that touch of a wow factor, and I'd fancy him to maybe turn over East India Dock. I'd struggle to fancy Hello Neighbour. I thought it was a weak 5-1 chance insofar as if they just say the two horses, the two favourites didn't even run, it's far from certain to be Lady Vegal and or Galileo Dame for that matter. I thought that was a short price at over run 92.
Okay, Tony.
Yeah, well, I mean, the first thing with Nick Henderson's Lulamba is impressive. Palladium, who cost a fortune, did he 1.4? They're starting to talk now that they're aiming him at the Melbourne Cup and that. So obviously then he mustn't have a chance. So Lulamba must be well superior to him. But East India Dock has done it. Then he's repeated it. And I think he's going to come back and repeat it again. I mean, he's it's not that he just beat nice horses. Like, he ran away from them.
Okay.
So he jumps, he acts on the track, he'll act on the ground. You know, he might be even a good thing.
Yeah, the time is so strong. You know, he did run right away from them.
And I mean, that's if, you know, I would put this lad nearly as one of my bankers if Stencil does his job in the Fred Winter. And as you said, it's not certain that even if he flopped, it wouldn't necessarily.
It wouldn't stop me from backing him either, to be honest, if Stencil did run bad, you know?
Yeah.
East India Dock is a very, very big player in the race for sure.
You have to respect
Henderson. Oh, absolutely.
Henderson, you know, when he fancies one, you have to respect him.
Oh, well, they have a good record in the race too.
East India Dock has done it all and repeated it.
Okay, Ruby, deciding.
I'd be the same. East India Dock, loved him in Cheltenham the last time. Was against him before the race, but loved his attitude, loved the way he did it. He's as hard as nails, sticks his head down, and he's a terrier.
Right, so Lulamba.
I'll go Lulamba.
Very lonely over there in the Lulamba camp.
Exactly, yeah.
East India Dock and poor old Ireland. Not a chance of the triumph. Right, onto the county hurdle. So Absurd won this last year of top weight on ground he hated. Is that right?
Was he top weight last year?
Was he top weight? No, maybe he wasn't top weight, but anyway,
he
Thierry wouldn't like the ground, but still hacked up.
He won 138. There's no way he was top. 146 this year. Okay. He's in good nick. He's working well. Drier ground would suit him. Yeah. I know he won on slowest ground last year, but I think it'd be a miracle that you'd get two county hurdles run like last year's at a crawl. Yeah. I think that was the biggest advantage Absurd had last year, was they went absolutely no gallop on real testing ground. Yeah. And everyone rode to the conditions and ended up going too slow. So I think a better ground will definitely help him. He's in good form. But I do think the older horses are vulnerable to some of the 5-year-olds, who I think from last year's juvenile crop are still quite well handicapped. Bunting being one that I put up. Cargeese is another. Be interested to see where Cala Conti goes. Not so sure about Ethical Diamond. He doesn't come into that. Ethical Diamond. Nadawi was second in the Galway hurdle behind Nürburgring. I think a 5-year-old would win it. And whichever one you're getting the best price on now each way, be the one I'd be going with.
Yeah, funny, Cargeese is one of the ones that kind of jumped out to me, that the fast run, getting buried in a big field.
Cargeese would love it, wouldn't she?
She would, yeah.
She would. I just think she doesn't run the mares and all that, but
I just think those juveniles from last year, you look at, like, I think Calaconti will run well in the mares. I think Bartlett Road has gone up from winning the Great Wood all the way up along. I think last year's juveniles were good. The horse that's missing, the Arkle, won the fight in fifth, Sergino. So I just think they're a decent bunch.
And Cargeese might not get the setup she needs in the mares, I don't think.
Might not.
She's much more likely to, barring last year's weird county hurdle when they went slow, usually you'll get a proper gallop, and that'll suit her, help her settle.
Yeah. Tony?
Yeah, I'll be going for Cargeese. Second in Triumph last year, acts on the track, very tough, reliable, and she'll love a real pace. And again, we're only repeating that, the race last year was amazingly slow. Yeah. This is usually a whoo, bang, followed by a hurdle type, flat to the boards from the start.
I like Cargeese. I could see Favour and Fortune maybe hitting the frame.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually like Cargeezy myself. I've won
Jesus,
3 times.
Oh dear. we've got to be wrong.
I know. It wouldn't be a race I'd have a big bet on now, but I just thought 139 as Lydia and Tony said.
Not a big mare now, sure she's not Ruby.
The race will suit her, surely. The end-to-end stuff.
She is.
I can see her being laughed after bridle. Maybe, hopefully she might get through, you wouldn't know,
Okay, so Cargezy, Ruby Cargezy?
I think Cargezy,
one of those
four, no, not shorties, one of the 5-year-olds. Nadawi, I think, is a good chance, so too is Bunting. I think a 5-year-old. Yeah.
And then Cargezy and...
Cargezy.
Jesus, there you go. That's easy. Whatever, the county hurdle's meant to be a difficult one to crack, but...
I don't think I've ever backed the winner of the county hurdle. Just saying, guys.
I backed Fontanese. Remember Fontanese years ago? Yeah. Jesus, it's great.
It's funny, I think it was the easiest handicap hurdle to ride it.
Really?
Yeah. Guaranteed a gallop, 4.5, 5 furlongs dead straight from the start to the winning post. New course, always a bit of room, bit of time. Much easier than the county or the Coral Cup.
Yeah, you used to hate the car. You used to always give out about the Coral Cup, because it was the first bend is I get about 100 yards from the thing.
No, it's not, but just you go as fast, but you're riding slower horses.
Yeah. Okay, grand. The Mrs. Paddy Power Mayor's Chase is next. Not sponsored by my wife, I assure you, but Dino Blue rock solid here. Is it JP's? JP seems to win this most years.
I can see why Gavin Cromwell is thinking of coming here with the novice. Would you prefer to take on Dino Blue and Allegory de Vassi or take on Majborough? I know you're taking on 2 versus 1, but I think Dino Blue should uphold the form or even be better than she was at Naas. And I can see why Gavin is coming to take her on. He won the race last year with Limerick Lace. He has a line through what could be required to win this.
This is only by night you're talking about?
Yeah, only by night, yeah.
Will she stay?
I think she will, yeah.
Because she looks like a bang 2-miler to me.
She's coming off a 2-mile pace. Did she not win over a bit further one of the days? No, she didn't. 2 and 2-1. She ran bad behind. Did she run bad behind Jade de Grugy in the Grade 1 Mares novice last year? Wasn't a bad run. No. I think she'll stay.
Okay. She didn't prove herself, but then, it seems that fences have transformed her. I'm not necessarily sure I'd judge her on her best hurdling stuff, because she is a brilliant jumper. I thought she did really well at Exeter. I think it's disguised how well she won that race. I think she's smart. Any chance that Spindlebury has brought a last-minute pass onto the boat?
She could do. It's just quite close. When did she win? It wasn't that long ago, was it?
It was really recently, and that's why I'm asking.
Willie has done that a lot this year that he hasn't usually done. Run a lot of horse in February that he doesn't usually do.
That's because they didn't get to run in November.
Yeah.
Just wondering if that did buy her a pass onto the boat. I can see her.
No.
No.
She's going to
Willow Warmer.
Willow Warm.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
Now that you say it.
Okay.
Did I think about it?
Okay, so only by night. Is that what it's called?
I just think you're looking at why the Gavin. He looks like the Majborough sticks out in the Arkle. He won the race last year with Limerick Lace, and he's going to send this mare this direction. I just think he's doing it for a reason.
Okay.
I like Dino Blue. I do. I think the trip, everything's in his favour. She has a penalty. He was weight all round, which is a small bit of negative. I'd be worried about only when I get the trip myself. 2.5 miles, I think, is stretch her. And she was slightly regressive last year over a hurdle. She started off really good, and then I actually think her run in Exeter wasn't as good as some of her run down Cork, say, when she won the walk. I didn't think she was overly impressive in Exeter, but maybe she'd come bounce back again. I don't know, but I'd be worried about her getting the distance, and I thought Dino Blue was probably one of the real rock solid favourites of the whole meeting, to be honest. Okay. I think there's a good thing to beat Allegory de Vassi, and it could cut up as well this race.
Okay.
I thought she was harrying fun, putting pressure under fun's jumping. Saw how far fun was beaten, and I think that also she was idling once Kilbarry Saint got to her quarters. She then sort of rallied again. I'm not saying she won't stay, but I'd prefer her to over 2 miles. I don't know what I think with Spindlebury not coming. I'm not sure what I think. I'm not sure. I think that Dino Blue is best at 2 miles personally. I think Allegory de Vassi is best at 2 miles. I think they're both beatable in this contest. Limerick Lace showed that last season, but she's not in the same kind of form. Malmaison is improving, but is she quite good enough? I like Only by Night, but it's the trip that's just niggling me.
Okay, Tony?
Yeah, sure. Look, it's getting boring going for another favourite, but Dino Blue, I mean, Only by Night, I can see why she's coming here, because she has no hope against Marshborough. So I don't think it's a clever plan to come here.
Yeah.
It's avoiding the bus coming into her forehead, so it is in the other race. So I don't think it's any special plan, and unfortunately I think Dino Blue is going to beat her as well.
I suppose Allegory Devassi, even if I think she wants 2 miles or is best at 2 miles, wasn't beaten that far in this race, was she?
No, she wasn't. 2.5 should suit her. It does jump a bit to her right though, Allegory Devassi, so never ideal around Cheltenham, but I think Gavin has weighed up his options and he's going to take these 2 on. And obviously anything can happen, but he's still avoiding Masborough.
Right, so only by night, Dino Blue strong.
Yeah.
Dino Blue strong. And
only by night, probably, with some doubts.
Okay, grand. Right, the Gold Cup, the highlight of the week. Going to see Immortality at play, Gallopin des Champs. Oh, we do the Albert Bartlett first. Yeah, that's grand. Okay, the Albert Bartlett, Immortality awaits. The Big Westerner will possibly take the beating here, but Jasmine DeVoe won the Cheltenham Bumper last year. Probably needs to jump. Needs to jump a bit better. I would say. Who wants to jump in? Tony?
The Yellow Clay.
Doesn't run here, runs as far as I know, he runs in 2.5.
Could move, could shift,
yeah. Lydia was saying earlier maybe might end up going here, but
Jasmine DeVoe is still a horse that we haven't mentioned any. Would he run here?
Yeah.
Jasmine DeVoe for me, on his Cheltenham Bumper form and everything,
Yeah, it was one it was the DRF. It was DRF, wasn't it, rather than Christmas when it was one of those, is he a good thing or not? And then he just didn't jump particularly well.
Well, he jumped as if 2 legs were tied together as opposed to 4, which he had done for the rest of the season. So, it was improvement, certainly.
Yeah.
From a low base.
From a low base. I think the track will suit him at 3 miles here. Take a chance, slow him down for the hurdles. Most of them are early in the back straight. And I just think for that reason he could get involved. The Big Westerner obviously sets a standard, but I think the one you'd have to give a chance to, if you're fancying the Big Westerner, is Argento Boy. He ran it to half a length in the maiden hurdle at Punchestown. He blew out at Christmas, and then he was impressive when he beat Fleming's Face on his last start. So I thought he could run better than he did in the Cheltenham Bumper last year. I think he'll stay and take out the run where he blew out at Christmas. He hasn't that much to find with the Big Westerner, and he's 5 or 6 times the price of her.
Okay, so Argento Boy maybe.
Yeah, I think it's open. Big West, it's traditionally it's a race where you can get a double figure winner very easily. Look, I could see a whole host of horses having a chance here. Ballybow sounds victorious. That one Ruby mentioned there, Argento Boy, yeah. Even Fishery Lane. Just at least 5, 6, 7, 8 horses you could mention have no chance here. I'm not mad about the Big Westerner myself. I just wonder about her on the ground, which she might want softer ground. I think she's related to Stay Away Fada, who did win this race, and she probably get the trip and all that. Look, but I don't think. I know Ruby said there one night there not many mares have tried it, but no mare has ever won it. I don't really read that much into stats, but I suppose it's not a plus for her at the same time. I think it's an open race, and if you force me, Ballybow is on a big upward curve. Whether he wants the ground as lively as he's going to get, I don't know, but I'd give him a good chance.
So Ballybow, Argento Boy,
Jasmine
DeVoe would be my first choice, but Argento Boy is too big a price.
Okay.
I'm passing on this race at this stage because I think it is wide open. I like the Big Westerner, but I had the same ground ounce. The trip is fine for her. There's no sign that the Yellow Clay is going to defect this way, but if he did, it becomes a totally different race.
Okay. Now, the moment I've been waiting for. Immortality awaits. The Gold Cup is next. Gallopin des Champs is obviously amazing and blah, blah, blah. Going for 3 in a row. Everything we've been saying, apart from because Factor File probably isn't going to run here, everything we've been saying over the last 3 days, it feels like we've been here for 3 days, is that basically it's a good thing, bar a fall, bar defence is getting in the way or something. If you're riding, what are you worried about coming here?
Bad luck.
That's all.
No, he doesn't need good luck to win the race. He just needs average luck.
Yeah.
He's average luck. He's the best horse. He'll win the race. What you don't want is bad luck. So that's what I think. He's dead straightforward. He's a great mentality. Great way of going. Touch wood. He's a solid jumper. Stays. Has a turn of foot. Pick a hole in him.
What's not to like?
Yeah.
Does anybody have any doubts about him?
Nope.
Not really. No. The ground, I suppose, is small. If it was livened up a bit.
Honestly, really, we're going to have to stop the ground thing. Honestly, he'll be fine on good stuff. He loves good to stop.
Yeah, you're really looking for grasping the straws. Probably is right. Yeah. The only way a horse is going to ever beat him, I think, is by being in front of him in a race, and you've no chance of coming from behind him.
Right.
But the only horse capable of beating him is probably going to run the Ryanair Factor File.
Let's talk about Factor File.
We should let it lie. We should just let it lie.
Just ring JP, will you?
There's just a Gold Cup winner running in the wrong race. But anyway, that's the way.
Okay, so we're all. Should we
Galloping the Champ,
anything with regard to like who might be second or that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
or is there an angle
without,
there? Of like,
yeah, betting without. There's only 2 horses I could have on my mind. One of them is Monty Star, who I expect to improve all the time. Obviously had some sort of setback in the early part of the season. Don't know what it was. Ran on New Year's Day. Bettered that at the Dublin Racing Festival. I expect him to better it again. And if it's a strongly run Gold Cup, then I think we'll see the best that we've ever seen from Monty Star. And the other one is Corbett's Cross, and I know he's a ponderous jumper and all of that kind of stuff, but I expect some headgear to be put on him, and I expect him to run a lot better as a result of that. They're the only 2 I can have in my mind to hit the frame.
Right. Let's go for the Hunter Chase. So, speaking of winners from last year, Angel's Dawn. Believe you have.
No, I put up that horse up at the ante, but I actually backed Will It Go Ahead.
Okay.
I fancy that horse myself.
You're just trying to put the markets away.
But I missed the price Angel's Dawn actually. It collapsed in price, but it wasn't. It doesn't do me tipping it, but it just did go. And then I saw Will It Go Ahead winning in Turles, and I'd say good ground.
Jumps really well.
Brilliant, unbelievable jumper.
Yeah.
If you I never rode a horse in my life, but if the right one horse, I'd nearly chance him. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think I would.
Just to confirm, you're not riding him on Friday.
No. I could have troubled down the weight. But listen, and the fact that they came in for, they refused the big offer for him is another point. You know, so I do think he's a young horse and he's on the way up, and I think he's a great chance.
Okay, Ruby.
I'm just looking him up here. Ramilez is what he beat in Turles. I think
he beat nothing. No, he didn't actually.
Ramilez doesn't stay. Ramilez is made for 2-6 in entry as a Hunter Chaser, and
when he got beat by Cons Rock in
Limerick. I remind I was sent out heavy ground, but you go back to Turles then when he beat Ramilez. So he's 4-1. No, I think Angel's Dawn. I think she's the one for me.
Okay, so Angel's Dawn and
Will It Go Ahead?
Will It Go Ahead? Okay, grand. The Martin Pipe is the last race of the week, and it feels like a million miles away, doesn't it? But this is Kopech to me again. We're going to talk about him for the 17th time today.
It's the 17th time today. Look, this is the race he's shortest in the betting in. On all mats, he should be ahead of the handicapper. He had a hold up, so he's again not in Close Sutton since around the turn of the new year. I hope he's ready enough.
Yeah, okay, but anybody have a view on this race? It's hard to know, isn't it, at this stage, what's going to run and all that?
I'd be interested if Woodhoo was to run here.
Okay.
Yeah, plenty of chat for her.
Okay, Woodhoo.
What's the name of the Brahmas horse? Touch and Go or Turn and Go? What's he called again?
Tap on the Go.
Tap on the Go. That's dangerous here, but it won't beat a horse like that has a stone in hand either, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if Kopech to me isn't as good as people say, that has a chance. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Grand. Yeah. Kopech to me, I'm guessing is like whatever. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Naps for Friday for the day 4. So shoot.
East India Dock.
East India Dock.
County. Albert Bartlett, Mrs. Paddy Power. Galloping is the nap, and I hope he wins, but at 1-2, no one's going to want to hear that. So, Angel's Dawn.
Angel's Dawn, the Hunter Chase.
I'll go for Dino Blue.
Dino Blue and the mares.
The East India Dock.
East India Dock as well.
Triumph with confidence now.
Oh, Jesus. Not just a nap. Capital N, capital A, capital P.
Might be the best one of the 4 days. I promised it wouldn't be favourite, my one, but of course I got Kawaboom. We're not going to get into
It's always safer to have your nap either later in the day or later in the week, because you can't be judged too early. You know what I mean?
I'll be gone.
yeah, exactly. Right, that's it. All 28 races covered. Loads of winners found, no doubt. In fact, for the first time, we might actually go through the card each day, every day. On that note, a reminder, if you are having a bet next week or any week, please do so responsibly. And remember that if it was easy, there'd be no such thing as bookies. Okay, and that's it. We're out. So thanks to everyone for watching. Thanks to the esteemed members of our panel. And see you at Cheltenham. Enjoy.